Chapter 4668. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Tai Bai Jinxing wasn't the only one who was surprised. Even the Grand Mist Ancestor's eyes flashed with extreme jealousy. He cursed in his heart. How can an invited guest rush to greet someone before the immortal emperor? If the Dragon Island didn't value Xueqi, why would the second elder of the Dragon Island personally appear? Haha. Greetings, Dragon Master Xiao. A golden light flashed behind Aoe as the golden-winged Peng flew out and laughed. There was another giant dragon beside him. Wasn't that the profound armored pentahorn dragon? Even though the pentahorn dragon had a trace of disdain on his face, he didn't hesitate and said, "The famous Dragon Master Xiao is actually like this. This saint has long heard about it, but after seeing it today, I'm still in awe of Dragon Master's temperament." Damn it, isn't it just the West Sea Dragon Palace? Xueqi wasn't surprised when the golden-winged Peng came out. However, when he saw Aoe and the pentahorn dragon, he immediately understood that Jiang Hong's killing of the West Sea had attracted the attention of the Dragon Island. As expected, the Dragon King of the Eastern Sea, Ao Qian, appeared behind the profound armored pentahorn dragon. However, Ao Qian bowed and said, "Greetings, Dragon Master Xiao. I didn't know that the Buddha of Xueqi Mausoleum was actually your nephew. I apologize for my lack of manners." After Ao Feng obtained the scriptures from the Nirvana Paradise, he mentioned to me many times how the Buddha of Xueqi Mausoleum had taken care of him along the way. Haha, this humble Taoist greets fellow immortals. Xueqi naturally couldn't greet them when others were so courteous. He hurriedly flew down from the Pegasus and stood in front of the soaring cloud side hall's door before bowing to return the greeting. Xueqi didn't activate his Transcendence golden body, which was the figure of an ordinary human. He stood there respectfully, but the second elder of the Dragon Island, the two great sages of the Great Sage Hall, and the East Sea Dragon Palace Lord didn't dare to disrespect him. The four demons hurriedly used their techniques and transformed into human form. They smiled and said, "Dragon Master Xiao, you're too polite." Haha. Master Xiao Lei. Right after Xueqi finished greeting the dragons and demons, Immortal Emperor Go Chen didn't miss the opportunity to appear. He smiled and said, "After hearing Master Xiao Lei's name, the second elder of Dragon Island was even more anxious than me. He actually came to greet you before me. I really don't know who the real host is." "Your Majesty is wrong." When Xueqi saw that Immortal Emperor Gaochen had personally come out, he understood that Immortal Emperor Gaochen was attracted by the title of Fortune Gate's third master. Therefore, he smiled and bowed respectfully. This humble servant is a human, and is also the lightning master of the Immortal Palace. This humble servant can be considered half a host, so. At this point, Xueqi's heart skipped a beat. He realized that his words were ambiguous and wanted to think of an explanation. After Immortal Emperor Go Chen, Dongfeng Qianghao also smiled and said, "Master Xiao Lei is also wrong. If we're talking about half a host, this old man can barely be considered half a host. You can only be considered half a host." Hehe. Xueqi was secretly happy. Dongfeng Qianghao's words made Immortal Emperor Go Chen even more sleepless, so he didn't say anything else. He just casually replied, "That's right, that's right. This Xiao has always been afraid of making a fool of himself in this kind of situation. I only said one sentence and immortal friend Dongfeng exposed me." Dongfeng Qianghao smiled and said, "That's even better." At the Jade Lake banquet, Empress Dowager Celestial Palace's immortal peaches and Immortal Palace's wine are plentiful. Master Xiao can punish himself. Troublesome, troublesome. Xueqi patted his forehead in distress. This Xiao is most afraid of wine. Haha, if you want to enter the school of the Emperor Star, how can you not have a good alcohol tolerance? The golden-winged Great Peng laughed and said, Come, let's have a drinking competition with this sage." The group of venerable realm experts laughed and invited Immortal Emperor Go Chen to go first. Xueqi, Thunderbolt Immortal, and the heavenly being stood in the middle. The Dragon Island's second elder and the others followed behind and entered the Lingyun side hall. Tai Bai Jinxing looked at the Grand Mist Ancestor in the distance and sneered. He naturally didn't dare to enter the Lingyun side hall through the main door. After the main door was closed, he flew through the side door. As for when he could deliver the Grand Mist Ancestor's Jade Eye and report the Grand Mist Ancestor's intention, it depended on his mood. Damn it! The Grand Mist Ancestor naturally saw all of this, and his anger was unprecedentedly strong. In his heart, he knew that the other forces might not put the fortune gate in their eyes. However, the 3 continents and the 4 seas needed a force that could benefit from both sides to keep each other in check. If Xiao Hua's rise wasn't too lucky, if Xiao Hua's fortune gate wasn't 100 years earlier than his sky-bearing palace, all the glory in front of him would belong to him and not Xiao Hua. Lord Sect Master. Taoist Rider Crane was very quick-witted. Seeing the Grand Mist Ancestor's uncertain expression, he hurriedly whispered, according to the subordinate's knowledge, no matter how many times the Jade Lake gathering has been held, it seems there has never been such a reception. The Great Sage Hall, Dragon Island, and Immortal Palace have given Xiao Hua too much glory. In this subordinate's opinion, the peak of prosperity is bound to decline. I'm afraid there are many hidden dangers behind this glory. Taoist Rider Crane's Lord Sect Master made the Grand Mist Ancestor's heart itch. He smiled and nodded. Your opinion is exactly what I think. Xiao Hua is just a Dao Gates child. How would he know how to strategize? Didn't you see that he actually destroyed his own bloodsteel? Isn't this giving others a reason to criticize him? A person who goes back on his words. It's only because of the current situation of the 3 continents that he can be so arrogant. AI, the times make heroes in terms of luck. I'm still half a step behind Xiao Hua. Lord Sect Master's luck is about the same. Taoist Rider Crane laughed. At this time, being praised by everyone is like being roasted on a fire. When it's time to make the real arrangements, only then will the cultivation base be tested. In this subordinate's opinion, Lord Sect Master's magic power is divine and can control yin and yang. Lord Sect Master is the one with the real good luck. Humph, good luck is just a facade. The Grand Mist Ancestor coldly snorted. His gaze swept over the tightly shut door of the soaring cloud-side hall, and he transmitted, all kinds of luck are like paper and silk in front of a plan. Before everything is revealed, everything is like the moon in the water. In the end, Xiao Hua will know that everything he did is just to pave the way for me. Everything he has is mine. This subordinate has this confidence. Taoist Rider Crane's eyes narrowed. He also looked at the soaring cloud-side hall and replied, only your majesty is the master of this palace. Only your majesty is qualified to be the Dao Gates. Lord Sect Master. Not to mention that the Grand Mist Ancestor and Taoist Rider Crane were flattering each other in front of the soaring cloud-side hall. On the other side of the soaring cloud-side hall, there was a similar door. Moreover, this door was also vermilion red. However, this door was decorated with 36 golden stars. This door was also tightly shut. Moreover, there was no plaque on it. Hundreds of armored female generals stood guard in front of the door. Boom! There was a roar high in the sky, and a 5-colored spot of light was born in the starry sky. The spot of light shook the void and streaked across the sky. Behind the spot of light, clouds like a bridge of clouds surged out from the vibrating space and covered the horizon. The female generals guarding the door tensed up. Among them, 10 of them moved and landed on the bridge of clouds. The leader's eyes flashed with a clear light as she looked at the other side of the bridge of clouds. In less than the time it took to brew a cup of tea, dozens of female officials dressed in palace attire flew over with 2 imperial canopies. At this time, the 2 imperial canopies were not covered by the multicolored light, revealing the 2 charming princesses inside. 2 of the princesses looked very similar, but their expressions and temperaments were completely different. One had a cold expression with bright eyes that emitted a murderous aura. The female officials near the canopy lowered their heads and didn't dare to come closer. Wasn't this the 5th princess of the immortal emperor, Qingqing? The other one had a sorrowful expression and looked around with a pitiful expression. This was the 6th princess of the bright jade palace, Miao Miao. At this time, there was a faint blue and white mark on her forehead. This mark was in the shape of a thunderbolt with faint flashes of lightning inside. Whenever lightning flashed, the princess would frown. She couldn't help but cover her chest. Then, strands of 5-colored light rushed out from her chest. This 5-colored light traveled up her jade-white neck to her forehead and entered the blue and white mark. Your Highness. The one guarding the canopy was naturally Yu Xiaojing. She saw the princess's frown and quickly asked, Your Highness, if you can't hold on, how about you let Princess Miao Miao see the Empress and ask for leave on her behalf? We'll return to the Jasper Flower Palace right now. Humph. We're already in front of the Lingyun Side Palace. How can we return? Princess Qingqing snorted and said. Plus, this princess didn't have time to ask for His Majesty's forgiveness after the battle at Chao Muya. This gathering is a good opportunity. If this princess doesn't come and His Majesty asks, won't this princess be punished? This servant knows. Yu Xiaojing smiled bitterly. But this servant is worried about Your Highness' injuries. There's no need for that. Princess Qingqing waved her hand in annoyance, stopping Yu Xiaojing from speaking. A rare look of confusion appeared in her eyes. She wasn't looking at Yu Xiaojing or Princess Miao Miao. Instead, she was looking at the boundless stars. Your Highness. Yu Xiaojing glanced at Princess Miao Miao and whispered to Princess Qingqing. You haven't seen many messages yet. This servant thinks you should take a look before entering the Lingyun side palace? We'll see. Princess Qingqing frowned again. Her injuries were clearly acting up again. She said impatiently, nothing is more important than asking for His Majesty's forgiveness right now. Yes, Your Highness. Yu Xiaojing opened her mouth but stopped when she saw Princess Qingqing's pain. Big sister. Princess Miao Miao's gentle voice rang out when she saw Princess Qingqing in such a state. I heard you went to Prime Purity Palace after returning from Dawn and Dawn. Why haven't you recovered yet? Humph. Princess Qingqing's eyes flashed with shame and anger. The one who injured me is a Taoist Grand Ascension stage cultivator. He seems to be even more powerful than the master of the Shangqing Palace. The master's medicine can only treat the symptoms, not the root of the problem. If I want to recover, I'll have to rely on my own cultivation. Ah! A Taoist Mahayana, he. How could he ignore his status and bully the weak? Princess Miao Miao was shocked and patted her chest, worried for Princess Qingqing. Thank goodness you're lucky. But how long will it take for you to recover? I'm afraid it won't be for at least 1,000 years. Princess Qingqing replied through gritted teeth. Alas! Elder sister. Princess Miao Miao turned her head and looked to the left of the imperial canopy. She waved her hand to signal those female officials to stay away. Then she said in a low voice, although I don't understand these fights and I don't like to compete, I still occasionally hear some rumors. What rumor? Princess Qingqing withdrew her thoughts and asked indifferently. Princess Miao Miao hesitated. Please don't be angry if I tell you. Tell me, I won't be angry. Princess Qingqing's face was a bit cold. It seemed she already knew what Princess Miao Miao wanted to say. Princess Miao Miao sighed, but she still said, I heard. You and Xin have some misunderstandings. You seem to have accidentally injured her back then. Since you're talking about Taoist Mahayana, you must be talking about Taoist Master Xiaohua, right? With his strength, how could he only injure you? Presumably this move of his was also to avenge Xian, right? You injured Xin and he injured you. We're even now, don't take it to heart. Princess Qingqing knew Princess Miao Miao didn't like this kind of news. It was already good that she knew something. She shook her head. It's not Xiaohua. It's another cultivator. Another cultivator? Could it be the Grand Mist Ancestor? Princess Miao Miao was shocked. The Grand Mist Ancestor's cultivation is nothing. He's not even worthy of carrying his shoes. Princess Qingqing said casually, but there was a hint of arrogance in her words. She was shocked and hurriedly looked at Princess Miao Miao. Princess Miao Miao was also shocked and turned to look at Princess Qingqing. Their gazes met and they turned back at the same time as if they were electrocuted. It was absolutely strange. After a few breaths of silence, the two of them spoke at the same time. Sister, who is that person? Miao Miao, is there any important news recently? Princess Miao Miao didn't say anything. She lowered her head slightly and smiled faintly. Princess Qingqing's cheeks were burning and her eyes were a little messy. Sister. Princess Miao Miao stopped smiling and said softly, I never ask about the Immortal Palace or the hidden Immortal Continent. How would I know any important news? Forget it if you don't know. Princess Qingqing said perfunctorily. She looked at the Lingyun side palace and changed the topic. Sister, I remember that it's only been a few days since the Jade Lake Gathering. Why is the Jade Lake Gathering being held again? Who are they inviting? Is it the new Confucian sage? If you don't know, then I don't know either. Princess Miao Miao smiled. But it's the Empress Imperial decree. We'll go. No. Princess Qingqing became nervous as her imagination ran wild. I have to see what's going on first. Otherwise, I'll be caught off guard. Jinger. Yes, Your Highness. Yu Xiaojing naturally stayed away from the canopy and hid her ears in her heart. Seeing Princess Qingqing waving at her, she hurriedly flew over. Quick, show me the latest message, Jade Eye. Princess Qingqing was anxious. Lightning flashed between her eyebrows again. She couldn't help but hold her heart again. Yu Xiaojing felt sorry for her, but she didn't dare to delay. She took out a dozen jade eyes and handed them over. Are you Princess Qingqing and Princess Miao Miao in front? The female general had already flown over and asked. Yes, it is our princess. Yu Xiaojing and a female official from the Bright Jade Palace responded and flew over. The Empress has decreed that the two princesses are to go to the Jade Lake immediately. The female general transmitted her voice. Yu Xiaojing smiled. Generals, please lead the way. This way, please. The female general didn't dare to delay. She led the cloud bridge to the side door. Seeing that they were about to reach the side door, Princess Qingqing exclaimed from inside the canopy. How is this possible? The four noble houses actually. That damned servant, Gu Xianyan. Yu Xiaojing hurriedly flew back and whispered in panic. Your Highness, please don't be angry. Xianyun has already died in front of the sunset cliff. It's all this servant's fault for not reporting such an important matter. Phew. Princess Qingqing was naturally anxious as well. She cursed Gu Xianyun in anger when she didn't know about such an important matter. Seeing Yu Xiaojing so flustered, she couldn't help but feel annoyed. She sighed and said, Fine. It's not your fault. I didn't return to the Jasper Flower Palace and receive the Empress decree as soon as I returned. At this moment, a rumbling sound came from the night sky not far away. Hundreds of pillars of Aoran Qi descended from the starry sky. Within the pillars of Aoran Qi, clouds poured down like a waterfall. When the Aoran Qi fell into the clouds, it immediately emitted a brilliant light. What was special was that within the clouds, a flying phoenix palanquin flew over. Under the cover of the clouds, it looked like a phoenix that ruled over the world. An overwhelming majestic aura instantly covered the surrounding space. On the left side of the flying phoenix palanquin, the silhouettes of the dozens of women in palace robes became somewhat blurry. Is that the Empress flying phoenix palanquin? Princess Qingqing and Princess Miao Miao were surprised. Is the Empress not in the Jade Lake? The Empress is in the Jade Lake. The female general at the front replied. The Empress decree flew in from outer space and the Empress sent the flying phoenix palanquin to receive it. I'm afraid it's an honored guest invited by the Empress. Princess Qingqing was surprised. She rolled her eyes and smiled. How many people in the world are worthy of the Empress sending the flying phoenix palanquin? Could it be the concubines of the four great clans? However, the four great clans just offended the immortal palace. Their concubines are close to the Empress, but they won't come to the Jade Lake. If it's not the four great clans, then it's the concubines of Gongshu, Duanmu, Kong, and Meng? Princess Miao Miao was also confused. But they don't seem to be qualified to sit in the flying phoenix palanquin. That's strange. Princess Qingqing shook her head and said, I can't think of anyone who can sit in the flying phoenix palanquin. Maybe it's the Dragon Queen of the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas? Princess Miao Miao asked again. The Dragon Empress of the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas has never come to the Immortal Palace. Princess Qingqing shook her head and said, Moreover, the dragon race is different from us humans. Their Dragon Empress is just a title. It's far from the status of the concubines of the 100 schools of thought. Forget it, sister. We don't need to guess. Princess Miao Miao said with a smile. We have to kneel when the flying phoenix palanquin appears. Won't we know when the honored guest comes out? Humph. Kneel. Princess Qingqing's eyes flashed with pride. One day, I will sit in the flying phoenix palanquin and make that slut kneel. Sigh. Princess Qingqing's voice wasn't loud, but Princess Miao Miao heard it clearly. She naturally knew who the slut was. She could only sigh and walk out of the imperial canopy. She walked to the side of the cloud bridge with Princess Qingqing and prepared to welcome the flying phoenix palanquin. The clouds were like a bridge. The palanquin above the clouds was like a phoenix that spread its wings and landed in front of the palace gate. Princess Qingqing and Princess Miao Miao had already flown to the palace gate from the side door when the palanquin approached. When the clouds converged, the flying phoenix palanquin stopped in midair. The clouds turned into a huge illusion of a phoenix and rushed through the red door. Behind the illusion, a woman in palace attire walked out of the palanquin. Princess Xueqi, Princess Miao Miao, and many other female officials hurriedly knelt on the ground and shouted, "We respectfully welcome your majesty." As the phoenix illusion landed on the crimson door, the 36 stars flashed at the same time. Boom boom. The crimson door next to everyone slowly opened. The phoenix illusion landed inside the door and set off a complete brilliance. Many female officials flew out from the radiance and knelt on the ground while shouting, "We respectfully welcome your majesty." "Io, sister. Get up, get up." Just as Princess Xueqi and Princess Miao Miao knelt on the ground and didn't dare to raise their heads, a familiar voice rang in their ears. "Little sister doesn't deserve such great respect." "Ah? Xian? When Princess Xueqi heard this, it was as though she had been struck by lightning. She looked up in shock and disbelief at the new princess who was blushing bashfully. She even looked at Bai, and who was beside the new princess, and exclaimed, "You! When did you escape?" Then before Xian could speak, Princess Xueqi jumped up from the ground and scolded, "Xian, what right do you have to sit in this flying phoenix palanquin? You've overstepped the etiquette and called yourself your majesty. Do you know that you've violated the immortal law? I'm going to see his majesty today to present a Xueqi." Just as Princess Xueqi was feeling embarrassed and angry, a kind voice came from inside the hall. "Your younger sister has just escaped and returned to the Lingyun side hall. Why are you picking on her again? Don't you think you're being picky?" "Greetings, Celestial Empress." Princess Xueqi immediately bowed respectfully in front of the Lingyun side palace, greeting the Celestial Empress with the etiquette of a ruler and her subject. "Get up." East Sea Empress looked at her competitive daughter and sighed. She flicked her sleeves and said, "This isn't Lingyun side palace or Fragrant side palace. It's enough for you to call me mother." The etiquette of Confucian cultivators precedes the kinship of the immortal palace. Your son doesn't dare to overstep the bounds. Princess Xueqi naturally wouldn't let Princess Xian off. She said, "It's precisely because your majesty dotes on Xian that she oversteps the bounds again and again. I hope your majesty will think twice in the future." "Humph. How am I overstepping the bounds?" East Sea Empress looked at Princess Xueqi with amusement and anger. She had called Princess Xueqi and Princess Miao Miao over today because Princess Miao Miao had a good relationship with Princess Xueqi and Princess Xian. She wanted to use the Jasper Lake meeting to ease the tension between the two princesses. But who would have thought that Princess Xueqi and Princess Miao Miao would arrive at the same time as the new princess's flying phoenix sedan? Princess Xueqi would kneel to the new princess in the flying phoenix sedan. Princess Xueqi was naturally furious. She seemed to have overreached herself. Although the 9th princess is His Majesty's descendant and has a noble status, Princess Xueqi seemed to have thought of something and her expression changed. She quickly shut her mouth. But a moment later, she gritted her teeth and said, "She hasn't made any outstanding achievements. With her unmarried status, how can she sit in this flying phoenix sedan chair?" Xueqi. East Sea Empress expression didn't change. She asked thoughtfully these days, "You weren't in the Jasper Flower Palace, right?" "Yes, your majesty." Princess Xueqi replied, "Your son was injured by the Fortune Gates lightning reverend on the Sunset Cliff. I've been recuperating in the High Purity Palace. And if that's the case, your majesty will pardon you." East Sea Empress nodded and turned to a female official. "Xueqi, read His Majesty's decree to Princess Xueqi." "Yes, your majesty." The female official didn't dare to delay. She hurriedly got up and returned to the palace. A moment later, she flew out again with a decree in her hand. After the decree was unfurled, everyone except East Sea Empress knelt down and listened to the female official read it word by word. "By the will of the heavens, the ancestors of the Confucian cultivators rejoice. Today, with the help of the 9th princess, I obtained the 5 energies unification technique from the master of the literary stream palace and found the true essence of my Confucian cultivation. My hidden immortal will return to the orthodox Confucian cultivation, and will definitely shine for generations to come. This is one of the 9th princess' great achievements. After the sutra seeking of extreme bliss, I encountered danger in the longevity town. The ninth princess used the Mystic Origin water control flag to break the Khanate Four Directions formation and saved me from danger. This is another of the ninth princess' great achievements. When the hidden immortal died and the 9 provinces formation collapsed, I, the ninth princess, fearlessly took the risk and brought my 9 provinces cauldron formation to the Tao Gate. This is the third of the ninth princess' great achievements. The ninth princess's 3 great merits are the auspicious purple clouds, the Eastern Ascension Immortal Palace, and her name in the annals of history. Therefore, this emperor hereby grants the ninth princess the title of Purple Clouds, and she will enjoy the first class of imperial concubines. PFFF. Before the female official could finish reading Immortal Emperor Go Chen's decree, Princess Qingqing spat out a mouthful of blood and collapsed in front of the Lingyun side palace. Sister. No one dared to move. Princess Xian hastily got up and helped Princess Qingqing up. Why did you do this? Get out of my way. Princess Qingqing's face was pale, but she still waved her hand and slapped Princess Qingqing's hand away. You only obtained some opportunities. What's there to be arrogant about? Sigh. Princess Xian sighed. She looked at Princess Qingqing and whispered, I've fought with you for thousands of years. Now that I look back, I find it laughable. From now on, the Immortal Palace is yours. I'll hand it over to you. Humph. Princess Qingqing sneered. Don't try to fool me with these words. Don't think I don't know what you're thinking. Let me tell you, you've only taken a few more steps. The one who has the last laugh is the true winner. Sister. Princess Xian naturally wasn't afraid of Princess Qingqing. She calmly replied, Believe it or not. Only when you meet the things and people that you should meet will you realize that. The things that you work so hard for before are really just smoke. Qingqing. The East Sea Empress looked at Princess Qingqing with heartache. She whispered, Listen to His Majesty's decree first. Princess Qingqing gritted her teeth and slapped Princess Xian's hand away again. She struggled to get up and kneeled. Ancestor, Fortune Gate's Xiao Hua is a handsome human. He created the Fortune Gate and established the Xiao World Empire. He is our Immortal Palace's lightning master. He fought against the 4 great clans at Dawn and Dusk Cliff. He worked together with me to resist the 4 great clans at Longevity Town. His sincerity towards the 9th princess was felt by the heavens and broke the 9th princess Heaven's punishment prison crystal. I cannot go back on my words. Today, I announce to the world that I agree to Xiao Hua's marriage proposal. Once Xiao Hua sets up the 9 provinces grand formation for our Immortal Palace, he can marry the 9th princess. Thus, the East Sea Empress smiled as she looked at Princess Qingqing. She knew that Princess Qingqing had always viewed the new princess as a strong rival. Now that the new princess had been given a title, she would be leaving the Immortal Palace. Now that she was going to marry Xiao Hua, the hatred between Princess Qingqing and the new princess would naturally disappear. Perhaps they would be able to bury the hatchet. Unfortunately, the East Sea Empress was still wrong. Princess Qingqing forced herself to listen, but when she heard the word wedding, her expression changed drastically. PFFF. Another mouthful of blood mixed with lightning gushed out of her mouth. Princess Qingqing had completely fainted in front of the Lingyun side palace. Princess Xian looked at Princess Qingqing with pity. However, she didn't go forward. She naturally treated Princess Qingqing as her elder sister and was willing to use her family to awaken her coldness. However, Princess Qingqing had already rejected her good intentions. How could Princess Xian help her? Send the 5th princess to Ijia's palace to rest. Call the medicine master to diagnose her. The East Sea Empress looked at the arrogant Princess Qingqing with heartache. She hurriedly ordered the female officials beside her. The female officials were a bit flustered. However, they quickly regained their composure. Some of them carried Princess Qingqing. They didn't dare to be rude and still entered through the side door. Some of them hurriedly went to pass the message. Of course, even more female officials surrounded the East Sea Empress and stood guard in front of the palace door. The East Sea Empress saw that the situation had stabilized. She sighed in her heart and forced a smile on her face. She said to Princess Xian, after you receive the edict today, Ijia can no longer call you Xian outside. As she spoke, the usually strong East Sea Empress suddenly felt sour in her heart. She actually had tears in her eyes. When Princess Xian saw the East Sea Empress smile, she saw the hypocrisy hidden behind it. Like Princess Qingqing, she also saw the immortal emperor's edict clearly. It wasn't to reward Xian, but to rope in Xiao Hua. Princess Xian even had some doubts in her heart. If she didn't have the same heart as Xiao Hua, even if Xiao Hua proposed to marry any of the immortal emperor's princesses, the names in the edict would be changed at will. However, seeing the tears in her mother's eyes, Xian's heart immediately softened. She was already so burdened facing Princess Qingqing in the immortal palace. What immortal Emperor Gaochen and the East Sea Empress had to face were the 4 great clans, the 100 schools of thought, and even the demon race and the Buddhist sect. They would definitely rack their brains and judge others by their own standards. Xian couldn't blame Her Majesty too much for scheming against Xiao Hua, especially since these tears were tears of farewell. They were tears of reluctance. These tears made Xian think of many things. Xian couldn't help but cry as well. She fell into the East Sea Empress' arms. Cough cough. Princess Xian only lost her composure for a moment. The East Sea Empress came back to her senses. She gently coughed a few times and helped Xian up. She smiled and said, "Princess Xixia, quickly receive the edict. Once we're done with the state affairs and enter the Lingyun side palace, Aijia will talk to you about family matters." Yes. As Xian stood up, she returned to normal and nodded with a smile. Also, the East Sea Empress looked at Bai Ban kneeling beside Xixia and said, "Aijia knows that you have worked hard and contributed greatly. I have also asked His Majesty for a decree for you. I hope you will be satisfied." Baiyan was shocked. She hurriedly kowtowed and said, "This servant doesn't dare to be greedy. This is all new. Princess Xixia's good fortune." The East Sea Empress didn't say much. Another female official beside her took out an immortal emperor's decree and recited it. This decree naturally didn't reward Princess Xixia. It simply pointed out that Bai Ban had worked hard and contributed greatly. She was conferred the title of 4th-rank concubine and married to Fu Jiwen. In addition, the Fu clan of the peaceful mountain country was also conferred the title of 5th-rank aristocratic family. Of course, the Fu clan's status as a 5th-rank aristocratic family couldn't match Bai Ban's 4th-rank concubine etiquette. This also showed that the immortal emperor was fair in his rewards and punishments. "This servant thanks the Empress and your Majesty for your grace." Bai Ban was so excited that her face turned red. She kowtowed and thanked the Empress with all her might. This was the etiquette of a 4th-rank concubine. How many women in the world could receive such an honor? Moreover, Bai Ban had always been traumatized by her affair with Fu Jiwen. Now that the immortal emperor had conferred her marriage to the world, the gloom in her heart had long dissipated. Not to mention, because Bai Ban had married into the Fu clan had also been promoted to a 5th-rank aristocratic family. This was something that the tiny Fu clan couldn't even dream of. Bai Ban was almost certain that once this decree was issued, the Fu clan would definitely worship her like a real concubine. Of course, while Bai Ban was thanking the Empress, she also understood that this decree wasn't just about informing Xiao Hua and stopping the 4 great aristocratic families. It was also about her marrying Fu Jiwen, the famous Confucian cultivator of the Fortune Gate, Fu Jiwen. Yu Xiaojing and the other female officials of the Jasper Flower Palace didn't dare to enter the Lingyun side hall without the East Sea Empress order. At this time, they were also kneeling at the side. When they and the female officials of the Jade Brightness Palace heard about Bai Ban's grace, they couldn't help but feel envious. There were countless female officials in the Immortal Palace. Although Bai Ban wasn't unprecedented, there probably wouldn't be anyone like her in the past 10,000 years. You all have seen it clearly. The East Sea Empress glanced at Yu Xiaojing and the others and said coldly, "The Emperor Star Palace is Bai Ban is your role model. You all should assist your princess well. Don't cause any trouble. I hope that there will be more decrees like this from my hands in the future." "Yes, this servant understands." The female officials didn't dare to be disrespectful and hurriedly nodded in agreement. "You all can enter from the side door." The East Sea Empress nodded and ordered, "Meow meow, I and Princess Xixia will wait for you at the Azure Sky Pavilion." "Yes, Empress." After Princess Meow Meow and the others knelt, they watched as the East Sea Empress held Princess Xixia's hand and Bai and accompanied her into the palace. Then, they followed the other female officials into the side door. After entering the palace, they saw that it wasn't an ordinary palace. Instead, it was an expanse of lakes and mountains. What greeted them was a vast expanse of blue waves. The blue waves were like a mirror, reflecting all the strange scenes in the heavens above. When they looked at the heavens above, they saw that it wasn't a blue sky and white clouds. Instead, layers of 9 colored clouds formed a jade necklace, hanging above everyone's heads like lanterns and streamers. As if a gust of wind had blown past, the jade necklace swayed, and the entire sky swayed. Amidst the layers of jade necklace, even more multicolored clouds condensed into auspicious shapes of dragons and phoenixes. When these auspicious shapes fell into the blue waves surged like waves. Pillars of aor and chi that pierced through the heavens and the earth rose like steam, surging between the heavens and the earth. It was somewhat similar to the Buddhist light of the Buddhist sect. Countless images of mountains and rivers flashed out from these pillars of aor and chi. The sounds of war and war, the sounds of men plowing and women weaving, all appeared before everyone's eyes. However, the East Sea Empress and the others didn't pay attention to these beautiful scenes. Instead, they stepped into the auspicious shapes and landed on the blue waves. Clouds immediately surged out from the blue waves, supporting the East Sea Empress and Princess Xia. They transformed into rainbows that fell into the depths of the blue waves. Wherever the rainbows passed, the jade necklace seemed to be blown by the wind, splitting into two. In just a moment, as the jade necklace swayed, a blue flower appeared in the air. This flower was sparkling and translucent, overflowing with precious light. Before it even flew close, a fragrance that seeped into one's heart followed everyone's gaze, emerging from their noses and mouths. When the fragrance filled the air, the space near the flower lit up with 9 colors. These 9 colors pushed the jade necklace apart, and countless lines and contours appeared between the gaps. When the East Sea Empress flew to the front of the lines, these lines quickly combined, and a jade-colored hooting appeared before everyone's eyes. When the hooting appeared, a rainbow bridge stretched out from the hooting and caught the clouds beneath everyone's feet. When the rainbow bridge shrank, everyone's figures gradually disappeared before they could even touch the hooting. Chapter 4669. Emerald Sky Pavilion was naturally a pavilion, but when Baiban followed Princess Xia into the pavilion, she saw that it was actually a heavenly abode. Above her head was a clear sky, below her feet was a vast expanse of blue water, and around her were glittering golden flowers that appeared and disappeared with her every breath. How could she not know that this was the Jade Pool's heavenly abode? Baiban didn't think it was strange. She carefully lowered her head and followed beside Princess Xia. When the East Sea Empress sat down, Princess Xia stood beside her. The East Sea Empress raised her hand and a seat that looked like a flower bud appeared out of thin air. She smiled and said, "Exing. Xia, now that you have a title, you can have a place in Emerald Sky Pavilion. Take a seat." Tears appeared in Princess Xia's eyes. Looking at the picturesque East Sea Empress, she knew that although the East Sea Empress didn't look old, her state of mind was full of vicissitudes. Just her matters alone made the East Sea Empress worry a lot. If the East Sea Empress hadn't demoted Baiban from the heavenly abode, she didn't know when she would be able to see the light of day again. Of course, Princess Xia knew that in addition to the East Sea Empress, she also had Xiaohua, who valued his promises like gold. As long as Xiaohua knew about her, he would definitely search high and low for her. With Xiaohua's strength, she would definitely be able to escape. However, facing the mother who gave birth to her, Princess Xia felt a rare warmth. She lowered her head and said, "Yes, Empress." As Princess Xia sat down, Baiban carefully stood behind her. The East Sea Empress smiled and said, "Excelsen, now that we are at Emerald Sky Pavilion, there is no need to follow the heavenly abode's etiquette. Just address me as family." "Yes, mother," Princess Xia replied with a smile. Boy hasn't called mother that in a long time. Princess Xia's words caused the East Sea Queen's eyes to redden. She wiped the corners of her eyes with her sleeve and sighed. "That's right. Excian. These years. It's been hard on you." Hearing Princess Xia call the East Sea Empress mother, the East Sea Empress lost her composure again. Baiban and the maids beside the East Sea Empress didn't raise their heads and exchange glances. They all gently moved their bodies and left Emerald Sky Pavilion, standing outside the heavenly abode. Princess Xia wasn't in a hurry to speak. She waited for Baiban and the others to leave before saying, "I've made Imperial Mother worry. Actually, in these 300 years. Come here and sit beside Mother." The East Sea Empress' expression was filled with love as she extended her hand towards Princess Xixia. Princess Xixia was shocked. After all, as far as she could remember, she had never been so intimate with the East Sea Empress. However, despite her surprise, Princess Xixia also understood that although she had not married Xiao Hua, Immortal Emperor Go Chen's decree had already been passed down. She could no longer stay in the Immortal Palace. This was no different from marrying Xiao Hua. It would not be as easy for the Eastern Sea Empress to see her in the future. The Empress would only be so sad and lose her composure when she was about to lose something, right? Princess Xixia also felt a sense of loss. She stood up and walked to the side of the East Sea Empress. The East Sea Empress held Princess Xixia's hand and hugged her. That warmth made Princess Xixia feel like she had returned to her childhood. Imperial Mother. Princess Xixia whispered, actually, in these 300 years, although the boy had suffered some hardships, the boy had also gained a lot. When the boy met Xiao Hua, he had already taught the boy the 5 energies unifying origin technique. The boy used these 300 years to painstakingly cultivate. These 300 years were just the blink of an eye. At this point, Princess Xixia even said mischievously, I won't hide it from Imperial Mother. The boy knew that Xiao Hua's cultivation was low at that time. The boy even thought that after he cultivated to the literary saint realm, he would break through the seal on his own. Sigh, this kind of thing. Why didn't you tell Imperial Mother? The East Sea Empress sighed. A bitter smile appeared on Princess Xixia's face. The Immortal Emperor's decree had already been passed down. If the boy told Imperial Mother, it would only make things difficult for Imperial Mother. Rather than that, it would be better not to say it. It's good that you weren't suppressed in the Heaven Punishment Prison Crystal. The East Sea Empress still had some lingering fear as she said. Imperial Mother was afraid that you would be like Bai and fall into the Heaven Punishment Prison Crystal. There would be no righteous qi, no heaven-earth yuan qi, only darkness and loneliness in your eyes. Perhaps, Princess Xixia said with some hesitation. This is also one of His Majesty's plans? Sigh, perhaps. Hearing Princess Xixia mention Immortal Emperor Go Chen and thinking about the innate 5-element flags, the East Sea Empress couldn't help but think too much. She said, no matter what His Majesty's plans were, you still profited from a disaster. Tell Imperial Mother the whole story. Yes, Imperial Mother. Princess Xixia didn't dare to delay. She recounted everything that happened after she was suppressed in Liao River and how she broke through the seal. She didn't hide anything. The East Sea Queen's expression also changed after hearing this. Although she had some complaints about Immortal Emperor Go Chen, they were husband and wife after all. She had only heard about the innate 4 cardinal formation from others and didn't think much of it before. But now, she understood that if it wasn't for Xiao Hua and Princess Xixia's mystic origin water control flag, Immortal Emperor Go Chen might not have been able to return safely from Longevity Town. The East Sea Empress couldn't help but hug Princess Xixia and say, Excellency, you are indeed Imperial Mother's lucky star. I wouldn't dare. This. I'm afraid His Majesty has arranged everything. While Princess Xixia was enjoying her mother's love, she was still brooding over Immortal Emperor Go Chen's suppression. Excellency, you don't need to think so much. The East Sea Empress smiled bitterly and said, since you were born in the Immortal Palace and became His Majesty's princess, then you can't not face these things. Moreover, if His Majesty was really ruthless and directly suppressed you in the Heaven Punishment Prison Crystal, how could you cultivate the 5 elements origin and refine the mystic origin water control flag? It was only a temporary scheme, a backup plan, a preparation, but He also had the intention to take care of you. Your injuries were also healed during the suppression, weren't they? Yes, Imperial Mother. Princess Xixia nodded and said with a smile, Boy has known about this since he was young, and this boy understands it even more now. Boy thanks Imperial Mother for giving Boy such a good opportunity to accompany Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua is a good child. Hearing Princess Xixia mention Xiao Hua, a smile appeared on the East Sea Empress' face. She said, not to mention Sun Jian, who has always been arrogant, praising Xiao Hua to the point that it's rare in the heavens and earth. Even the 3 pure palace master, who he fought before, was full of praise. Not to mention the information that Imperial Mother obtained from other sources. He is already a Taoist Mahayana cultivator, but he still doesn't have a dual cultivation partner. It seems. He has deep feelings for you. When did you two meet and fall in love with each other? Princess Xixia blushed slightly and said in a low voice, Boy doesn't know either. I just experienced life and death with him once, and after that, I couldn't help but like him. This point, regardless of whether the East Sea Empress knew the details, Princess Xixia told her everything that had happened in the mystic water palace at the bottom of the river. Actually, the East Sea Empress said with a smile, this is fate. Back then, Imperial Mother didn't like His Majesty. Moreover, His Majesty was much weaker than the heirs of the 4 great clans. However, after seeing you a few times, Imperial Mother couldn't help but like His Majesty. It was rare for the East Sea Empress to be so happy, and she actually talked about some past events that even Princess Xixia didn't know about. After talking for a while, Princess Xixia said with a smile, Imperial Mother, I'm afraid Sister Meow Meow has already arrived. It's not good to let her wait outside for too long. Yes, Imperial Mother knows. The East Sea Empress nodded and said, after you participate in this Jade Pool meeting, you will need His Majesty's decree to come to the Immortal Palace again. It's difficult for Imperial Mother to see you, so let her wait outside for a while. Yes, Imperial Mother. Princess Xixia was born and raised in the Immortal Palace. She had been scheming against Princess Qing Qing for so many years. When she heard the East Sea Empress words, she immediately understood that the East Sea Empress must have some business to attend to other than family matters. Thus, she got out of the East Sea Empress' arms and said respectfully, Boy understands. Seeing her daughter like this, the East Sea Empress was also heartbroken. However, she still hardened her heart and asked, Excellency, Imperial Mother still has a few things to ask you. Imperial Mother, please speak. Princess Xixia nodded. Boy will definitely tell Imperial Mother what he knows. The East Sea Empress pondered for a moment, then looked into Princess Xixia's eyes and asked, the Fortune Gate. Unfortunately, before she could finish, Princess Xixia smiled sweetly and said, Imperial Mother, forgive this boy for being unfilial. Boy has been engaged to Xiao Hua, so boy is Xiao Hua's person and no longer belongs to the Immortal Palace. My Confucian cultivator's daughter scripture clearly states that if a woman marries a chicken, she must follow the chicken. If she marries a dog, she must follow the dog. Boy must not speak about the Fortune Gate. The East Sea Empress had already expected Princess Xixia to answer in such a way. She smiled and said, His Majesty's decree has not been made public yet, so you are not considered. Before the East Sea Empress could finish, Princess Xixia interrupted her again and said, Then Imperial Mother will be disappointed again. Boy has escaped from the Longevity Town and returned to the Fortune Gate with Xiao Hua. He has not entered the Fortune Dao Palace. Therefore, I don't know anything about the Fortune Gate's matters. Alright. The East Sea Empress's face was expressionless. She nodded slightly and said, In that case, Imperial Mother will not force you. However, can Imperial Mother ask about some matters outside the Fortune Gate? Princess Xixia smiled bitterly and said, Imperial Mother, boy has only been in the Soaring Dragon Mountain range for 3 to 5 days. Even if he wants to find some secrets to report to Imperial Mother, I'm afraid he doesn't have the time. Imperial Mother knows that I'm making things difficult for you. Helplessness appeared on the East Sea Empress's face. She shook her head and said, But Imperial Mother still wants to ask you. Imperial Mother, please speak. Princess Xixia naturally understood the meaning of the East Sea Empress's words and nodded. Master Xingyue. The East Sea Empress's eyes narrowed slightly as she looked at Fairy Xixia. She asked word by word, Have you heard Xiao Hua mention her whereabouts? Master Xingyue? Princess Xixia was stunned. She looked at the East Sea Empress with confusion and asked, Why did your Majesty suddenly ask this? The East Sea Empress thought for a moment and replied, You can ask Xiao Hua about this secret. He naturally knows. Imperial Mother does not have your Majesty's permission, so it is not easy for me to explain. You only need to answer Imperial Mother's question. Princess Xixia thought for a moment and replied, When we were at the Fortune Gate, Xiao Hua did not mention Master Xingyue's whereabouts to boy. So it's like that. The East Sea Empress shifted her gaze away from Princess Xixia's face. It was unknown if she had noticed the little Xiao Hua in Princess Xixia's words, but she felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted from her shoulders. She nodded and said, If that's the case, Imperial Mother will know. You've done well. We, Confucian cultivators, emphasize the 3 obedience and 4 virtues. Since you're going to be his wife in the future, you must think for him and serve your husband well. Seeing the gloomy expression on the East Sea Empress's face, Princess Xia's heart ached slightly as she clearly thought of the conflict between her and immortal Emperor Go Chen. She forced a smile and said, "Imperial Mother, please rest assured. Xiao Hua is a man with deep feelings. If there's something, he will find the right time to tell Boy. Moreover, Boy is not the kind of person who is jealous. If both sides understand each other, then everything can be discussed." Princess Xia's words had the intention of persuading the East Sea Empress. However, when she saw the East Sea Empress's ugly expression, her voice became softer and softer. In the end, Princess Xia rolled her eyes and said with a smile, "However, Imperial Mother, although Boy cannot tell Imperial Mother the whereabouts of Master Xingyue, Boy can tell you who is currently in charge of Star Plucking Tower." "Oh, who is it?" The East Sea Empress was stunned. The gloominess on her face disappeared as she asked Princess Xia curiously. "Far away on the horizon but right in front of you." Princess Xia mischievously blinked her eyes again. "I see." The East Sea Empress's eyes lit up. She immediately understood where Su Ji and Fairy Xingyue had gone, and a smile appeared on her face. The East Sea Empress's expression changed slightly. Princess Xia immediately understood. She asked in surprise, "Imperial Mother, could it be that Master Xingyue has an extremely powerful background? The great array of the 9 states that has already been broken needs her to set it up again?" Previously, Princess Xia did not understand why immortal Emperor Go Chen had passed the method of setting up the great array of the 9 states to Xiao Hua through her. After all, she knew that with Xiao Hua's ability, even a Mahayana realm Taoist would not be able to set up the great array of the 9 states perfectly. However, after listening to the East Sea Empress's words, she could not help but have an idea. Sigh. Princess Xia naturally did not mean to ask, but the East Sea Empress sighed again. This is His Majesty's idea, not Imperial Mother's plan. Now that Xingyue is helpless, His Majesty's plan is probably like drawing water with a sieve. Let's see how he deals with this. Hee. Princess Xia covered her mouth and giggled. Darling Xiao is the most stingy. I'm afraid it's not easy to take out something that is already in his hands. The East Sea Empress did not know whether to laugh or cry when she thought of Xiao Hua's stinginess. She said softly, "His Majesty probably has the same idea. That's why he simply let you teach him the method of setting up the 9 states." Imperial Mother. Princess Xia did not ask much about the 9 states' great formation. Instead, she smiled and said, after Darling Xiao returned to the soaring Dragon Mountain range from the Star Moon Palace, he handed the Star Plucking Tower to Bai-in. Boy followed Darling Xiao back to the Fortune Gate. Naturally, the Star Plucking Tower is in the hands of Boy. That's right, Imperial Mother. Bai-in brought back a lot of good things from the Star Plucking Tower. Boy, you haven't seen Imperial Mother for a long time. Take these to show filial piety to Imperial Mother. As she spoke, Princess Xia took out a lot of rare items from her cosmos sack and presented them to the East Sea Empress. The East Sea Empress was a descendant of the Immortal Palace. What kind of rare items had she not seen before? However, what she saw was Princess Xia's filial piety. She accompanied Princess Xia to pick up and appraise the rare items one by one. After almost an hour, she smiled and said, "Excellent. Imperial Mother knows of your filial piety. This star moon is very important to Xiao Hua. You must take good care of the Star Plucking Tower. With the Star Plucking Tower, in the future, even if Xiao Hua has wives and concubines, he must put you first. Not only does he love you, but he must also respect you in his heart." "Yes, Imperial Mother. Boy understands." Princess Xia carefully agreed again. Then, intentionally or unintentionally, she looked outside the Azure Sky Pavilion. "Ai, you are such a kind-hearted child." The East Sea Empress smiled and said, "Imperial Mother only wants to talk to you for a while. You are thinking about other people's feelings." "Imperial Mother, Boy only does what he should do. What other people think, Boy doesn't care." Princess Xia also smiled and replied, "Meow meow." The East Sea Empress said to the outside of the Azure Sky Pavilion, "Come in." Princess Meow Meow entered the Azure Sky Pavilion. The other maids waited outside and did not dare to come in. The moment Princess Miao Miao entered the Azure Sky Pavilion, she respectfully knelt down and greeted. Greetings, Imperial Mother. Princess Xixia lowered her head and did not speak. However, she sighed in her heart. Princess Miao Miao was the least favored among the 9 princesses. However, she was also the most detached one. Princess Miao Miao was nervous when she saw Immortal Emperor Gaochen and the East Sea Empress. She did not know how to speak. Many of her answers were not in line with the Immortal Emperor and the Empress. For example, since she was kneeling, she should first call herself Imperial Mother, and then see what the East Sea Empress wanted to say. If it were the other 8 princesses, they would do the same. However, this Princess Miao Miao, even though Princess Xixia reminded her many times, panicked when she saw the Emperor and the Empress. She forgot all the etiquette. And rise. The East Sea Empress was unhappy. Seeing Princess Miao Miao's lack of manners, she was even more unhappy. She indifferently waved her hand and asked Princess Miao Miao to rise. Princess Miao Miao heard the East Sea Empress' displeasure and became even more nervous. She replied, "Thank you, Mother Empress." In an ordinary family, Mother Empress meant mother. As a child, it could be called casually. However, in the Immortal Palace's etiquette, unless the princess ordered it or the Empress agreed, it could not be called casually. Princess Xixia heard Princess Miao Miao lose her sense of propriety again. She hurriedly smiled and said, "Elder sister, come quickly. I haven't seen you for several hundred years. I really miss you." Princess Miao Miao naturally smiled. Just as she was about to speak, she suddenly remembered her previous greeting. She frowned slightly and looked at Princess Xixia with a regretful expression. "How have you been recently, elder sister?" Princess Xixia naturally wanted to find something to talk about and casually asked. Facing her younger sister, Princess Miao Miao immediately regained her liveliness. She smiled and said, "Elder sister can't be compared to younger sister. You can casually go down to the lower realm and meet your ideal husband. Even if you are punished by His Majesty, it is still a blessing in disguise. Moreover, younger sister's ideal husband is someone that Empress and His Majesty can rely on. My Immortal Palace and Empress should also talk to younger sister more." The East Sea Empress expression improved slightly. She smiled and said, "Everyone has their own fortune. Miao Miao, you don't need to think too much. For now, you should talk more with Xixia. After the Jade Pool meeting, if you want to see her, it will be a little troublesome." Hee, Mother Empress. Princess Xixia wanted to help Princess Miao Miao. She smiled and said, "Although Darling Xiao is stingy, he is definitely not a petty person. If elder sister is willing, you can go to the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range. Younger sister will welcome you with open arms." "And good. The East Sea Empress heard and smiled. She nodded and said, "Once Xixia leaves, I don't know when she will return. I can't go visit often. However, Miao Miao can go in my place. Xixia, the Fortune Dao Palace has 3 elders. If possible, you can find a suitable one for Miao Miao." "Oh right, does the Fortune Dao Palace only have these 3 elders?" Of course the Fortune Dao Palace doesn't. Princess Xixia was immersed in her family and accidentally answered. But she only said half a sentence before she realized that something was wrong. She immediately stopped and looked at the East Sea Empress with a bitter smile. "Mother Empress, this boy doesn't know how many elders there are in the Fortune Dao Palace." Reverend Yun had a profound cultivation base, and he had been guarding the Fortune Dao Palace for a long time. If he was the 4th master of the Fortune Dao Palace, he would be stronger than the 3rd master of the Fortune Dao Palace. However, Reverend Yun had the 1st and 2nd master of the Fortune Dao Palace, and his overall strength was not any weaker than Xiao Lang. However, if Mother Empress is willing, this boy can talk to Darling Xiao. That lightning reverend and heavenly being are both human race's Mahayana realm experts. If Sister Miao Miao marries them, it will definitely not taint our immortal palace. Princess Xixia's first sentence was naturally an explanation to the East Sea Empress. Her second sentence was obviously a perfunctory one. She was just casually playing along with the East Sea Empress words. However, when Princess Miao Miao heard this, she became anxious and waved her hand. Xian, please don't. If Ching. Princess Miao Miao realized that she had said something wrong and hurriedly stuck out her tongue and lowered her head. However, Princess Miao Miao's unintentional words attracted the East Sea Empress and Princess Xia's attention. The East Sea Empress said unhappily, "Miao Miao, you are you, and Qing Qing is Qing Qing. Your matter has nothing to do with her. If you marry the Fortune Dao Palace's second elder or third elder, it will be beneficial to the Immortal Palace." The East Sea Empress's words were a little blatant, but Princess Xia and Princess Miao Miao felt that it was only natural. After all, in the eyes of the Immortal Palace and the 100 families, the meaning of marriage was more towards the family's interests. The so-called feelings were just collateral. Princess Xia was also very happy that she was able to meet such a good husband like Xiao Hua. However, Princess Xia knew Princess Miao Miao far better than the East Sea Empress. She knew that although Princess Miao Miao was afraid of the East Sea Empress and the Immortal Emperor, she was not afraid of Qing Qing and the other princesses. She frowned and asked curiously, "Sister, what do you mean? Could it be that Qing Qing?" This. Princess Miao Miao's face was a little red, and she even said uneasily, "You have to ask Qing Qing about this." "I don't know." It would have been better if Princess Miao Miao did not say anything. The moment she said this, even the East Sea Empress understood a little. She also frowned and looked at Princess Miao Miao. It would have been better if the East Sea Empress did not look, but when she did, Princess Miao Miao became even more flustered. She hurriedly waved her hand and said, "Mother, about Princess Qing Qing and the Lightning Reverend." Princess Miao Miao was completely dumbfounded. She did not dare to say another word. She nervously knelt on the ground and kowtowed. "Empress, boy really doesn't know, really doesn't know." "Mother." Seeing that Princess Miao Miao's face was pale with fright, Princess Xia hurriedly smiled and said, "Don't ask, let the boy talk to sister." The East Sea Empress looked at Princess Miao Miao with some pity, but did not say anything. Her gaze was filled with a complicated expression. It was hard to tell if it was disgust or love. "Sister." Princess Xia walked in front of Princess Miao Miao and reached out to hold her ice-cold hand. She smiled and said, "Don't be too nervous. Didn't you say a lot when I accompanied you to drink at Jade Brightness Palace? You and I are sisters. If I can get it, you can too. You are not inferior to anyone." Xia. Princess Miao Miao's heart calmed down slightly. Although her voice was still trembling, she was no longer nervous. She forced a smile and replied, "You are wrong. Everyone is different from others. This was already confirmed when this person was born. Temperament, character, temper, and so on are not easy to change. Although you and I are both princesses of the Immortal Palace, temperament determines everything. I won't talk about others, but I will talk about you. Forbearance, magnanimity, modesty, but not avoidance. These are all things that allow you to handle things with ease. Sister knows her own limits. Being an idle princess and being able to share some of His Majesty's and Empress's worries is enough. I can't do anything." Princess Miao Miao had already said these words to Princess Xia. Princess Xia only brought it up again to ease the atmosphere. Thus, Princess Xia smiled and said, "Sister's words are also very good. Just be yourself and live your life well. Actually, you don't have to force yourself." "Thank you, Xia." Princess Miao Miao held Princess Xia's hand and said sincerely, "Sister heard His Majesty's decree just now. Sister is really happy for you. Only a perfect girl like you can have such a wonderful life." Seeing that Princess Miao Miao had calmed down, Princess Xia let go of her hand, blinked her eyes, and said, "Since sister said sister is perfect, do you think sister will hit you when you are down? These are two different matters." Princess Miao Miao naturally understood what Princess Xia was talking about. She shook her head and said, "If you want to hit me when I am down, there are too many opportunities. So, you can rest assured and tell me the cause of this matter." Princess Xia smiled and said, "If you don't tell me now, won't it be even more troublesome when Qing Qing blames you if something really goes wrong?" "All right." Princess Miao Miao naturally understood the stakes. Since she had already spoken and was also worried about Princess Qing Qing, when would she say it if not now? Thus, Princess Miao Miao told them about the awkward moment she had just faced Princess Qing Qing. For a moment, Princess Xia and the East Sea Empress looked at each other in dismay. Although what Princess Miao Miao said wasn't very strange and couldn't be considered evidence, and could even be said to be baseless guesses, from a woman's intuition, there was definitely something wrong with Princess Qing Qing's thoughts. What exactly is going on? The East Sea Empress was somewhat angry and asked in a low voice. Empress, the boy doesn't know. The boy only just found out about these clues. The moment the East Sea Empress spoke, Princess Miao Miao lost her composure and hurriedly answered. Princess Xixia smiled and said, Mother, the matter isn't clear yet. Why get angry now? Didn't Qing Qing see the Thunder Immortal during the Battle of Day and Mu Cliff? Why don't we just ask what exactly happened? Where are the female officials of Jasper Flower Palace? The East Sea Empress was angry again, as if this matter should have been reported by a female official long ago. Summon the female officials of Jasper Flower Palace. Princess Xixia smiled and shouted outside. Following Princess Xixia's voice, a portion of the female officials of Jasper Flower Palace flew into Jade Sky Pavilion and respectfully knelt down. Which one of you participated in the Battle of Day and Mu Cliff with Qing Qing? Princess Xixia's tone was very strict, far from the gentle tone she used to speak to Princess Miao Miao. The female officials looked at each other and shook their heads. They whispered, This servant didn't go to Day and Mu Cliff. Where is Yu Xiaojing? Princess Xixia asked indifferently. Princess Xixia, Yu Xiaojing was worried about Princess Qing Qing's injuries, so she went to look after the princess. The female officials didn't dare to stand up and hurriedly replied, Please calm down, Empress. The East Sea Empress nodded. How could she punish such a loyal female official? Go and summon Yu Xiaojing. Princess Xixia's face was expressionless as she continued to give the order. Moments later, Yu Xiaojing was ordered to arrive at Jade Sky Pavilion. As soon as she flew in, she immediately felt that something was wrong. After all, the female officials of Jasper Flower Palace were still kneeling on the ground, and the East Sea Empress looked displeased. Yu Xiaojing didn't even think as she knelt down and kowtowed. This servant greets Empress. Princess Qing Qing's injuries haven't healed yet. If Empress wants to punish, this servant doesn't dare to say that I'll take responsibility, but Empress, please postpone the punishment. Yu Xiaojing's words were very appropriate, and the East Sea Empress heard it and nodded slightly. Beside her, Princess Xixia thought for a moment and smiled. Yu Xiaojing, don't be afraid. Empress just wants to ask about Chao Muya's situation. Chao Muya? Yu Xiaojing was confused and whispered. What do Empress and Princess want to ask? This servant doesn't dare to keep quiet. Stand up. Princess Xixia ordered, then looked at the other female officials. You may leave. Yes, Princess. The female officials didn't seem to find it strange that Princess Xixia was giving orders in Jade Sky Pavilion. They respectfully bowed and left Jade Sky Pavilion. The East Sea Empress looked at Princess Xixia with satisfaction. After all, what Yu Xiaojing was about to say might affect Princess Qing Qing's reputation, or even more seriously. Who knew if there were other princesses or spies of the four great clans among the female officials of Jasper Flower Palace? Yu Xiaojing, tell me, what happened between Qing Qing and Thunder Immortal? Princess Xixia didn't know how to phrase it, so she could only ask ambiguously. Who would have thought that once Princess Xixia said that, Yu Xiaojing's face turned cold. Anger flashed in her eyes. Even her tone became somewhat ambiguous. She coldly said, Your Highness, others may not know about this, but how could you not know about it? Back then, my princess only injured you. Now, not only did you injure my princess, you even want to ruin my princess's reputation. Princess Xixia, you truly deserve to be called Xixia. Men. Slap her. Princess Xixia didn't hold back and immediately gave the order without waiting for Yu Xiaojing to finish. Yes, Princess. Princess Xixia's voice came out of Jade Sky Pavilion, and two female officials immediately responded. Two thin and weak female officials flew in and slapped Yu Xiaojing's face. Yu Xiaojing stubbornly knelt there, not daring to resist. After two slaps, Yu Xiaojing's face was already swollen. You wait. Princess Xixia indifferently ordered the two female officials to leave. Then she said to Yu Xiaojing, Qing Qing has always been headstrong and self-opinionated. Empress Dowager sent you to assist Qing Qing to correct her shortcomings and help her deal with things. This is the key to loyalty. Who doesn't know how to ask about others' well-being? Yu Xiaojing, as a female official of Jade Flower Palace, you put the cart before the horse. You abandoned your own nature and flattered the princess. Today, you didn't tell the details of the truth, but directly framed me. How should I punish you? East Sea Empress saw Princess Xiao's punishment and felt a trace of displeasure in her heart. But when she heard Princess Xiao's words, she couldn't help but be shocked. Although Yu Xiaojing was loyal to Princess Qing and seemed to be protecting Princess Qing, from another point of view, she was really harming Qing and pushing Qing towards the cliff. This was because Princess Xia had never mentioned the matter of Princess Qing injuring Princess Xia in front of everyone. This Yu Xiaojing only needed to say a few words to expose the conflict between the two princesses. Moreover, during the battle at Chao Mu Ya, Princess Xia had still been suppressed and hadn't broken free. How could Princess Xia have instructed the lightning sage to hurt Princess Qing? This was clearly slander. Damn you! East Sea Empress said angrily, I only called you here to ask you some questions, but you didn't answer truthfully and actually slandered Princess Xia. What are your intentions? Yu Xiaojing didn't think much of it because she understood Princess Qing's thoughts the best. Moreover, she had subconsciously made Princess Xia look bad. When Princess Xia asked about the lightning sage, Yu Xiaojing's first reaction was, Princess Xia had set a trap for Princess Qing. Thus, she immediately defended Princess Qing and wanted to expose Princess Xia's ugly face and so-called plans. However, Princess Xia's words immediately made her panic. After all, it was Princess Qing who had done this first. Even if Princess Xia had instigated the lightning sage to take revenge, it was only natural. Furthermore, Princess Xia hadn't broken free at that time. Moreover, Princess Xia didn't mention Princess Qing at all. Instead, she slapped her. This was a secret warning to her. It didn't matter if she was punished, but what about Princess Qing? How could the current Princess Qing be a match for Princess Xia, who was at the peak of her power? Empress, how much is this servant's fault? This servant shouldn't have spoken nonsense. Please punish me, Empress. Yu Xiaojing didn't hesitate to kowtow and beg. Seeing that Yu Xiaojing didn't dare to circulate her energy and that her forehead was bleeding, Princess Xia didn't say anything. An immortal palace. Although it was superior to a mortal palace, it was still a palace. Princess Xia was used to fighting in the open and in the dark. She naturally wasn't like Xiao Hua. The East Sea Empress naturally wouldn't expect Princess Xia to plead on Yuxia's behalf. Seeing the bloodstains, she coldly snorted and said, This Empress just said that I hope you all can follow by An's example and assist your own princess. In the future, this Empress will also have more decrees to issue. You actually dared to disobey my words. You truly disappoint me. Yes, it's all this servant's fault. Please punish me, Empress. Yu Xiaojing didn't dare to argue and only asked for punishment. East Sea Empress coldly snorted again and didn't say anything else. Yu Xiaojing understood. She lamented in her heart and turned to Princess Xia. She kowtowed and said, Your Highness, this servant spoke nonsense just now. Please punish me. This matter has nothing to do with my princess. Yu Xiaojing, because you tried to sow discord, I will punish you severely. However, seeing how loyal you are, I'm afraid you've heard those words for a long time and have overthought them. You're also worried about Qing. That's why you've said them. Princess Xia said indifferently. Therefore, I don't intend to punish you. I just want to warn you that if you don't change your ways and offend me again in the future, if I hear any rumors, I won't let you off easily. Yes, this servant understands. Yu Xiaojing's heart relaxed and she stopped kowtowing. Also, Princess Xia continued, when Qing wakes up, you have to tell her not to judge others with her own heart. Many disturbances are just self-inflicted troubles. Yes, this servant understands. Yu Xiaojing didn't dare to say anything else and only nodded. All right. Princess Xia waved her hand and said, Rise and answer me. What happened at Chaomu Cliff? Yu Xiaojing stood up and recounted Chaomu Cliff's formation and the battle in detail. Hearing that the lightning reverend was so ruthless that he didn't even care about Princess Qing's reputation and directly attacked her chest, the East Sea Empress's face darkened, and Princess Xia was abnormally embarrassed. Not to mention a descendant of an immortal emperor, even an ordinary female cultivator would be too ashamed to face the world after being humiliated by a man. The Emerald Sky Pavilion was silent. Princess Xia's mind was spinning rapidly, but she didn't know what to say. After all, No man would do such a thing to a female cultivator. She was doubting the truth of Yu Xiaojing's words. Unfortunately, just as she was about to speak, the East Sea Empress unhappily said, "Xia." "Yes, Empress." Princess Xia hurriedly stood up. "This matter. The Fortune Gate must give the Immortal Palace an explanation." The East Sea Empress said, "The Lightning Reverend is a Taoist at the Grand Ascension stage. If he wanted to injure Qing Qing or obtain the Milky Way Grand Formations disk, he had many ways to do so. How could such a frivolous method be something a man would do?" The story of the immortal world and the desolate era is in everyone's hands. The third place tearfully asks for subscriptions. If the subscriptions exceed 1,000, the immortal world will be opened. Next, I ask for monthly votes. If the monthly votes exceed 100, I'll add more chapters. Third, I ask for recommendations. If the monthly votes exceed 1,000, I'll add more chapters. How Xiao Hua went against the light to become a true saint will depend on everyone. The third place thanks. Chapter 46-70. This. Princess Xia's face was burning hot as she blamed the Lightning Reverend in her heart. Needless to say, Xiao Hua was the one who ordered the Lightning Reverend to injure Princess Qingqing. However, Princess Xia also understood that Xiao Hua would never allow the Lightning Reverend to do such a despicable thing. If Yu Xiaojing's words were true, then it could only be the Lightning Reverend's own matter and had nothing to do with Xiao Hua. The problem was that the Lightning Reverend was the Fortune Gate's second master. He represented the Fortune Gate and Xiao Hua. What is the Lightning Reverend thinking? Princess Xia grumbled inwardly. How could he be bewitched by Qingqing's beauty at such a crucial time? Did he do such a foolish thing? Unfortunately, how could Princess Xia know that the Lightning Reverend was not a complete person? Let alone know the difference between men and women? Qingqing is His Majesty's descendant. Her status is the same as yours. The East Sea Empress scolded. You are now engaged to the Fortune Gate's first master. Yet you allowed Qingqing to be molested by the Fortune Gate's second master. This matter. Even if Yu Xiaojing was not lying, if others heard it, they would blame it on you. Xia, you have to return Qingqing's innocence, or I won't be able to answer to His Majesty and all the women in the world. Thump. Princess Xia's heart sank. The East Sea Empress' words were clear. She had to return Princess Qingqing's innocence. But how? There were only two ways to return Princess Qingqing's innocence. The first way was for the Lightning Reverend to commit suicide in front of everyone as an apology. If the Lightning Reverend ceased to exist, Princess Qingqing's innocence would be preserved. However, as a Tao Gate's Grand Ascension stage expert, would the Lightning Reverend commit suicide as an apology? Who in the world had the ability to kill him? This path was obviously impossible. Then, there was only the second way left. The second way was for the Lightning Reverend to marry Princess Qingqing, and there would be no innocence between husband and wife. However, from Princess Xia's perspective, how could she allow the Lightning Reverend to marry Princess Qingqing? After fighting with Princess Qingqing for so many years, she knew Princess Qingqing's methods better than anyone else. How could she allow a scourge like Princess Qingqing to enter the Fortune Gate? How could she allow Princess Qingqing to share her power in the Fortune Gate? How could she make things difficult for herself? And then let her happy life fall into a harem fight? Moreover, Princess Xia understood that the Immortal Palace would not give up on annexing and coveting the Fortune Gate just because she had married into the Fortune Gate. Once Princess Qingqing entered the Fortune Gate, and Xiao Hua ascended, the entire Fortune Gate would fall into chaos. At the very least, the Fortune Gate would be divided into two, and Xiao Hua's painstaking efforts would go down the drain. Mother. Princess Xia couldn't help but ask. Why are you forcing the boy like this? Force. The East Sea Empress smiled faintly. She naturally understood Princess Xia's thoughts and replied, in Mother's eyes, you are Mother's princess, and Qingqing is also Mother's princess. Mother is happy that you have found a husband you like, and Qingqing is also happy that Qingqing has found a husband she likes. Hearing this, Princess Xia immediately thought of how Princess Qingqing and Princess Miao Miao were trying to cover things up. She even thought of Princess Qingqing's shame and anger when she heard that she had been bestowed the title of Princess Xia. That kind of shame and anger was not because she had been bestowed the title of Princess Xia, but because she had found her husband first. Moreover, Princess Qingqing also understood that she would definitely stop her and the Lightning Reverend from getting together. that little bit of affection in her heart would definitely come to an end. Xian, you have your own happiness, and Qingqing also has her own happiness. You can't stop Qingqing's happiness because of your own happiness. The East Sea Empress said with a smile. Moreover, you have no right to stop Qingqing from finding her own happiness. The East Sea Empress's words were very dignified, but in Princess Xia's ears, they were ear-piercing. As a mother, it was absolutely natural for her to make such plans for her daughter. However, if an empress were to make such plans for her own princess, then there were too many implications. When familial love met power, familial love could only turn into snow under the sun, especially the princess of the immortal palace. In an instant, Princess Xia made a decision. Even if Princess Qingqing really fell in love with the lightning reverend, she would absolutely not let this marriage be consummated. It had to be said that Princess Xia's decision was just as Princess Qingqing had expected. Empress. Just as Princess Xia was about to speak, dang, dang, dang. Outside the Emerald Sky Pavilion, 9 bell tolls rang out. As the sound passed, the outline of the entire Emerald Sky Pavilion turned into lines. These lines then shattered, turning into inscriptions of armor. The inscriptions of armor scattered all over the place, and in a moment, they turned into a part of the jade. The East Sea Empress said no more. She stood up and said, "The Jade Pool gathering is about to begin. I will go and preside over the Jade Pool. All of you wait here." Except for Xia, who is different from before, everyone else has their own seats according to etiquette. Yes, Empress. Seeing that the Jade Pool gathering was about to begin, even Princess Xia didn't dare to delay. Everyone stood up and respectfully answered. Seeing the Empress leave, Princess Miao Miao looked at Princess Xia, then at Yu Xiaojing, and said to Yu Xiaojing, "Go and see Princess Qingqing for me." "Yes, Your Highness." Yu Xiaojing agreed. After bowing to Princess Xia, she led Princess Miao Miao away. Meanwhile, Baiban flew over. Looking at the unfriendly Princess Xia, she whispered, "Your Highness, Princess Xia didn't pay attention to Baiban. Instead, she looked at the Empress back with narrowed eyes. No one knew what she was thinking. After half a cup of tea's time, she waved her hand and said, "Let's go to Baiban," and didn't know what happened. But when she saw Princess Miao Miao and Yu Xiaojing flying away, she understood that it must have something to do with Princess Qingqing. She didn't dare to ask and followed Princess Xia. Xiao Hua, Celestial Being, and Thunderclap Immortal entered Lingyun's side palace under the escort of the crowd and the demonic beasts. What greeted them was a huge dome of heaven. Above the dome of heaven, the sun, the moon, and the stars were scattered all over like flags. Sunlight poured down from the sun and the moon. However, the brilliance of the sun and moon couldn't cover the brilliance of the stars. Hundreds of millions of stars followed the sun and moon across the sky, revealing mysterious trajectories. At the same time, waves of obscure fluctuations fell from the sky and rippled through the entire palace. Below the palace was a boundless land. On the land, there were many mountain ranges. Some extended horizontally. Some fell vertically. The crisscrossing paths formed huge squares. These squares were like farmlands. However, there were no crops in the farmlands, but cities and villages. The scenery within each square was different. As Xiao Hua's gaze swept across, he felt as if he had seen through the world of mortals. Amitabha. Namo Dipankara Archaic Buddha's familiar chanting voice resounded from a distance away. Similarly, beside Namo Dipankara Archaic Buddha, Namo Maitreya, who had left some time ago, also chanted. Namo Maitreya. When Xiao Hua saw the Maitreya Buddha World-Honored One, he was shocked. Indeed, he had always thought that the Maitreya Buddha World-Honored One was still on Shenhua continent and had not come out. Even when the Maitreya Buddha World-Honored One had said that he would leave quietly, he did not care at all. Who knew that? The Maitreya Buddha World-Honored One's cultivation was actually so powerful. Amitabha. Xiao Hua didn't dare to be negligent. He put his palms together and said, "Disciple greets the two revered worlds." "You don't have to be so courteous, Lord Guanyin." The Dipankara Archaic Buddha was very satisfied. He raised his hand and helped Xiao Hua up. "Although you're my Buddhism's Namo Great Compassionate Guanyin Bodhisattva, you're still not my Thundersound Temple's Arhat. You don't have to greet me as a disciple." "I wouldn't dare." Xiao Hua said respectfully, Since disciple has attained the Buddha fruit, I should understand the meaning of this Buddha fruit. I should face the world's past and future. Otherwise, what's the meaning of this Buddha fruit? Amitabha, Amitabha. The Dipankara archaic Buddha chanted and stepped aside. Namo Maitreya. Namo Maitreya stepped forward and said, previously, when I called you Xiao Danue and went through life and death with you, I felt that you had wisdom and could become my Buddhism's disciple. However, I didn't expect Danue to attain the Buddha fruit of my Buddhism. Congratulations! Now that you've said so, disciple feels even more ashamed. Xiao Hua smiled and said, if it weren't for your advice, disciple wouldn't have known the true essence of Buddhism. You're wrong, revered world. Namo Maitreya said seriously, Buddha is in everyone's heart. As long as you're merciful and treat the world well, you'll be able to see your own Buddha. What I can do is only to tell you how to see Buddha. As for whether you can attain the Buddha fruit, that's up to you. Namo Maitreya. Xiao Hua smiled and said, disciple understands. It's good that you've understood. Amitabha, Amitabha. Namo Maitreya stood by the side and said a few words to Xiao Hua in his heart. Then, Xiao Hua, Namo Wisdom Manjushri Bodhisattva behind the Dipankara archaic Buddha world exalted and Namo Maitreya Bodhisattva Samantabhadra behind the Namo Maitreya Bodhisattva. After greeting each other, they looked toward the main seat of the hall. At this moment, a loud rumbling sound resounded from the hall. 4 mountain peaks shot out from the ground. Following the appearance of the mountain peaks, the ground began to change. Cities and villages were constantly changing, and the men and women within were also being destroyed. Even in the sky, at the top of the 4 mountain peaks, 4 layers of clouds that resembled foothills appeared. These clouds changed along with the mountain peaks' protrusion. After the rumbling sound disappeared, the mountain peaks stopped moving. They landed right under the feet of the demon race, dragon race, Buddhist sect, and Confucian cultivators. As the golden-winged great rock and the mystic armored pentaceratops landed, another layer of demonic clouds rushed out from the peak of the mountain and landed at the foot of the mountain. In an instant, the entire mountain peak transformed into a monstrous demon race. This demon race had 8 arms and 8 legs. Their 8 legs stood firmly on the ground like boulders. The 8 arms were raised respectfully, lifting the 2 great sages of the Great Sage Hall into the air. Looking at the Dragon Island's second elder Aoe and the Dragon King Ao Qian of the Eastern Sea Dragon Palace, they landed on the mountain peak. Whoosh! The same layer of dragon chi descended from the peak of the mountain and instantly covered the entire mountain peak. The mountain peak transformed into a huge black tortoise, supporting the 2 dragons. Clang, clang, clang. A series of knocking sounds resounded from another mountain peak. At the place where the Maitreya Buddha World Lord and the Dipankara archaic Buddha World Lord landed, a faint Buddhist light descended, transforming the entire mountain peak into a lotus platform. On top of the 3 transmogrified mountain peaks, thick chains of inscriptions descended like flood dragons, letting out rumbling sounds. When the Grand Qi was retracted, an indomitable scroll appeared beneath Immortal Emperor Go Chan and Dongfang Qionghao's feet, supporting them there. The 4 mountain peaks transformed separately. Only Xiao Hua, the Thunderbolt Immortal, and the heavenly being stood there quietly. There was no mountain peak beneath their feet. Xiao Hua didn't show any abnormalities. He only looked at Immortal Emperor Go Chan with a smile on his face. I don't know how many years it has been since a Taoist cultivator entered Ling Yun's side hall. Immortal Emperor Go Chan said with a smile, I didn't expect to see a mortal enemy of Confucian cultivators in my Ling Yun side hall. Now that I'm facing Master Xiao, I can't help but feel a sense of absurdity in my heart. To be honest, Master Xiao, if it were someone else, I wouldn't hesitate to use the power of thunder to kill you right now. I believe, even if Master Xiao has reached the Exalt realm, you still can't face the combined forces of the Confucian cultivators, the dragon race, the demon race, and the Buddhist sect, right? Xiao Hua raised his eyebrows slightly. He didn't show any signs of panic on his face. He only smiled faintly and said, I admit that what your majesty said is the truth. I even know that even without the help of the demon race's great sage, the dragon race's elder, and the 2 exalts of the Buddhist sect, your majesty can still kill me. Maybe your majesty dealt with the primordial chaos ancestor like this? However, if your majesty wants to deal with me, then you must be prepared to be killed. I believe that after your majesty makes a move, there's a possibility of you being killed by others. Don't you think so, Dongfang family head? Dongfang Qianghao didn't seem to be embarrassed. He smiled and said, I don't know what your majesty is thinking. I only know that since enlightened Master Xiao is a Confucian cultivator and is also our Master Xiao, I didn't know the inside story and was blinded by greed. I wanted to attack Master Xiao. But who would have thought that not only was I unable to defeat Master Xiao, but I also fell into your majesty's trap. Therefore, not only my Dongfang family, but the entire 4 great families have made a decision. As long as Master Xiao is alive, the 4 great families will never attack Master Xiao. What about after I ascend? Xiao Hua asked with a faint smile. Who knows what will happen in the future? Dongfang Qianghao shrugged and looked at immortal Emperor Go Chen. He also replied with a faint smile. When the militarists entered the immortal palace, they probably didn't expect today's situation, right? Cough cough. Immortal Emperor Go Chen coughed twice and smiled. This is the secret of our Confucian cultivators. How can we use it as a joke? Haha, your majesty. You're considered the leader of the militarists. How can you not even know how to use words? How can you use the word joke here? Dongfang Qianghao laughed and refuted immortal Emperor Go Chen. The human race has always been like this. The profound armored pentahorned dragon calmly interrupted. They can't stand others being stronger than them. Whenever there's an opportunity, they'll use it to suppress others. I think the 4 great families can't stand the militarists occupying the immortal palace. That's why they came up with a new plan, right? Hearing the profound armored pentahorned dragon's words, Xiao Hua looked at immortal Emperor Go Chen and Dongfang Qianghao, who seemed to be united on the outside but were actually at odds with each other. He then looked at the Dipankara archaic Buddha and the Maitreya Buddha on the Buddha lotus. Finally, Xiao Hua's gaze landed on Aoe and the Dragon King of the East Sea, who were both suspicious and fearful of each other. He lamented in his heart, this era is the best era for Taoism to rise. I'm lucky to be in this era and be able to stand at the peak of supremacy with my Taoism cultivation. This era is also the worst era. Disasters are happening everywhere. Now, the apocalypse is coming. If we don't deal with it carefully, I'm afraid we won't be able to survive this. Dragon Sage, you're wrong. The Dragon King of the East Sea, Ao Chen, smiled. It's not just the human race. Some of the demon race and dragon race do the same. That's right, that's right. The profound armored pentahorned dragon mocked. I heard that some of the dragon race have even been conferred titles by the immortal palace. No wonder the dragon palace of the 4 seas is causing so much trouble. The dragon palace of the 4 seas is much less troublesome than the great sage palace. Ao Chen retorted without holding back. No matter what, the dragon race of the dragon palace of the 4 seas is still subordinate to the dragon palace of the dragon island. Roar! The profound armored pentahorned dragon's roar shook the heavens. The space around the mountain where the demon race was located suddenly collapsed and spread rapidly in all directions. Of course, this spatial collapse only reached the edge of the mountain where the demon race was located. It was blocked by a layer of invisible restrictions. Pieces of inscriptions fell from the restrictions like scraps of paper. Amitabha Buddha. Excellent, excellent. The Dipankara archaic Buddha's world lord chanted, Dear Transcendence, the reason why we've gathered here today is to discuss how to deal with the omen of world destruction. Why have you started a conflict before we've even spoken? Haha, the Dipankara archaic Buddha is right. The Go-Chan immortal emperor laughed. Today, the 3 great continents' supreme cultivators are gathered here at the Lingyun Side Hall. How can we speak without thinking? This happened because of me. I should apologize to Master Xiao. Come, announce my decree. Then, the great general of the Sun Palace, Sun Jian, appeared in the middle of the hall. He held a decree in his hand and started reciting, Ancestors, Fortune Gate Xiao Hua. This decree was exactly the same as the one the East Sea Empress gave to Princess Xixia. After everyone heard it, different expressions appeared on their faces. However, these expressions only lasted for a moment, and no one could see them clearly. Hearing this, Xiao Hua was a bit dumbfounded. This decree came too suddenly, exceeding Xiao Hua's expectations. Naturally, he was overjoyed. However, many thoughts flashed through his mind, such as Xueqi, Fairy Jing, Fairy Hongxia, Jiuxia, and even Huang Mengxiang. After a while, he smiled bitterly. Damn it. The Dawn Rain continent has a red cloud, and the hidden immortal continent has a purple cloud. Does that mean there's a green cloud in the immortal world? Another rosy cloud in the divine world? I've refined the 7 colors bone. I'm going to fight against Rosy Cloud for the rest of my life. Haha. Congratulations, Dragon Master Xiao. Congratulations. The golden-winged great rock laughed. I thought the Jade Pool gathering today was a Hongmen banquet. Who would have thought it would be a wedding? I'll have to toast Master Xiao a few more times. The golden-winged great rock congratulated from the bottom of his heart. However, the others' congratulations were different. While they were congratulating him, they were also secretly cursing the Go Chen immortal emperor for his sinister methods. Just a moment ago, he said he wanted to kill Xiao Hua, but in a moment, he married his 9th princess to Xiao Hua and pulled Xiao Hua into the immortal palace. Xiao Hua rubbed his nose as he looked at everyone's congratulations, and he laughed bitterly. Thank you, fellow Taoists. However, I haven't even been able to sit on a seat after arriving at the Soaring Cloud Pavilion. Looks like His Majesty hasn't been at ease with me. Moreover, I'm afraid everyone knows what the 9 provinces Great Formation is. However, who knows when I'll have the strength to set it up. I'm afraid His Majesty has painted a big picture for me. Master Xiao Lei, could it be that you're not satisfied with my arrangement? The Go Chen Immortal Emperor pretended to be angry. If it doesn't work, I'll take back this decree. Sigh. Xiao Hua said helplessly. His Majesty has placed a new happiness in front of me. How can I not accept it? At this moment, Xiao Hua also understood why the Go Chen Immortal Emperor didn't release the Taoist Gates Mountain first. Instead, he waited for Xiao Hua to accept the decree. Sure enough, following Xiao Hua's agreement, a green mountain appeared beneath Xiao Hua and the others. Whoosh! Just as Xiao Hua, the Thunderbolt Immortal, and the heavenly being stepped onto the mountain, several bolts of lightning descended from the top of the mountain. In an instant, the entire mountain transformed into a massive lightning bolt, lifting the 3 Grand Ascension Stage Taoist Gates Grand Ascension Stage cultivators into the air. At this moment, the 5 mountain peaks were arranged in the shape of 5 stars under the dome of the sky. The fluctuations within the Lingyun side hall gradually calmed down, and the 5 stars gradually reached a balance. Seeing Xiao Hua, the Thunderbolt Immortal, and the heavenly being sitting on top of the lightning bolts, the Go Chen Immortal Emperor looked around and exchanged a glance with the Dip Ankara Immortal Buddha and Aoe. He then looked at Xiao Hua and said with a smile, Master Xiao Lei, to be honest, the 9 provinces Great Formation is the immortal defense formation of our heavenly court. It's not something that can be set up by ordinary cultivators. In fact, it wouldn't be easy for 9 supremes of the same cultivation to set it up. However, Master Xiao Lei might not be able to set it up, but Master Xiao Lei can ask your Taoist Gate seniors to help set it up. My decree didn't say that you can't ask for help. Sure enough, Xin was right. Xiao Hua thought to himself, although not every Supreme Being cultivator knows about the existence of Xueqi and Fairy Xingyu, Immortal Emperor Go Chen, the Elders of Dragon Island, and the 2 Buddhist lords of the Buddhist sect must know. When they first joined forces to deal with the Grand Mist Ancestor, they might not have been able to kill him. They were only afraid of angering Xueqi, which was why they suppressed the Grand Mist Ancestor. Now, I've appeared out of nowhere and surpassed the Grand Mist Ancestor in one fell swoop. They also see me as Xueqi's disciple. In particular, I have a close relationship with Xueqi and Fairy Xingyu in the Star Moon Palace. The disciples of the 4 great families know about it. Even if the 4 patriarchs didn't know about it before, they know about it now. Therefore they don't dare to force me too much. Since Immortal Emperor Go Chen didn't point it out, Xiao Hua simply pretended to be confused. He asked curiously, Your Majesty, what do you mean? Which Taoist Gate seniors can I ask for help? Immortal Emperor Go Chen raised his eyebrows and his eyes lit up. He smiled and said, Master Xiao Lei, could it be? Your Majesty, I don't know what you're talking about. Xiao Hua refused to admit it. Hee. Immortal Emperor Go Chen replied, Master Xiao Lei, do you think that every Confucian family is as stupid as the Chongsun family and Yuan Shi? Provoking Zhai Xing Lu for no reason? This is the information I obtained about the Star Moon Palace. Take a look and you'll understand. Immortal Emperor Go Chen raised his hand and pointed. A book like jade eye appeared in front of Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua took the jade eye and a light flashed in his eyes. His expression changed greatly. This was because the jade eye recorded the matter of Xueqi and Fairy Xingyu very clearly. Some of it was known to Xiao Hua, and some of it was unknown to him. In other words, these were things that Xueqi and Fairy Xingyu deliberately concealed. After the jade eye, there were also records of Xiao Hua and Xueqi's experiences in the Star Moon Palace. Wherever there were people, there were records. During the period when Xiao Hua and Xueqi were separated, Xueqi and Fairy Xingyu's actions were also clearly recorded. In other words, there were still spies of the Immortal Palace among the disciples who had been selected by Xueqi and Fairy Xingyu. Alas! Xiao Hua sighed and put away the light. He smiled bitterly and thought to himself, even immortals are only individuals. In terms of combat power, no one in the 3 continents can compare to them. But in terms of other things, they can't compare to an organization. Even the Star Moon Palace established by Fairy Xingyu can't compare to the Immortal Palace. How is it? Immortal Emperor Go Chan said with a smile. At this point, Master Xiao Lei can speak frankly, right? Since we're here, does your Majesty not know what happened? Xiao Hua returned the jade eye to Immortal Emperor Go Chan and replied thoughtfully. You still have to ask me? Of course I don't know what happened. Immortal Emperor Go Chan said word by word, otherwise, I wouldn't ask you. After the disappearance of the Star Moon Palace, these 2 seniors had never appeared again. Tell me, how can I be at ease? Haha, so your Majesty doesn't know what happened. Xiao Hua said with a smile. I thought your Majesty was investigating the world with the supreme heavenly mirror. Master Xiao Lei. Immortal Emperor Go Chan said with some displeasure. At this point, I've already given you all the glory that I can give you. Can't I wait for you to tell me the truth? Xiao Hua shrugged and replied, Your Majesty, didn't I say it before? I don't know when I'll have the strength to set up this big array. Naturally, it's impossible for me to ask the seniors of the Dao sect to help me. Are you sure? Immortal Emperor Go Chan asked worriedly. Xiao Hua frowned and thought for a moment, thinking about the pros and cons of telling the truth. In fact, the existence of the immortals might be the reason why the Confucian cultivators didn't dare to kill the Dao sect's cultivators too openly. Or it might be the reason why the immortals, Buddhas, and demons suppressed the Grand Mist Ancestor. Or it might be the reason why they were patient with him. But in the end, these were all possibilities. The immortals were only a temporary deterrent. The most important thing was to have strength. Xiao Hua might not be able to fight against the Immortal Palace, Buddhist sect, and Demon Clan, but against any one of them, the Fortune Gate wouldn't be at a complete disadvantage. Therefore, the presence of the immortals didn't matter much. Moreover, the immortals didn't show up, so how could Immortal Emperor Go Chen not know that the 2 immortals had left? Even if he deliberately hid it, he couldn't. Therefore, Xiao Hua raised his head, looked at Immortal Emperor Go Chen, and nodded with certainty. Unexpectedly, Immortal Emperor Go Chen didn't feel relieved as Xiao Hua thought. Instead, a trace of worry appeared on his face, and he sighed. Xiao Hua didn't know if Immortal Emperor Go Chen's sigh was fake, but he at least knew that because of Xueqi and Fairy Xingyu's departure, Immortal Emperor Go Chen's plan to use him to set up the 9 provinces Great Formation had failed. Of course, Xiao Hua also believed that with Immortal Emperor Go Chen's scheming mind, he would never place his bet on the immortals. After all, he had other plans. Sure enough, after Immortal Emperor Go Chen finished speaking, he looked at Aoe and the Dipankara archaic Buddha, then lowered his head and didn't say anything, as if he was transmitting something. At this time, the Lingyun side palace was silent again. Even the strong golden-winged great rock felt that the atmosphere was a little strange. He opened his mouth and wanted to ask Xiao Hua a few words, but when he thought of how close Xiao Hua was now to the Immortal Palace, he wondered if he should avoid something. It had to be said that Immortal Emperor Go Chen's decree suddenly brought the relationship between the Immortal Palace and the Fortune Gate very close. Seeing Immortal Emperor Go Chen pondering, Xiao Hua's heart skipped a beat. He hurriedly said, Your Majesty, this Xiao has something to tell you. What is it? Immortal Emperor Go Chen was slightly puzzled by Xiao Hua's seriousness. Thundermaster Xiao, please speak. Cough cough, Your Majesty. The star-plucking tower is now my Fortune Gate's property. Xiao Hua coughed and smiled. Moreover, in order to express my feelings to Princess Zixia, this Xiao has even handed the star-plucking tower over to Princess Zixia to manage. Immortal Emperor Go Chen was obviously stunned. However, in the next instant, he smiled and said, Thunder Master Xiao is indeed a great man with deep feelings. This emperor admires you from the bottom of his heart. Damn it, what great man! He must have been discussing with Aoe and the Dipankara archaic Buddha about how to divide the stars and moons, right? Now that he knows that the star-plucking tower has been given to Xin, he immediately changed his attitude. Xiao Hua cussed inwardly. Oh, this Xiao understands now. This guy only mentioned immortals but didn't ask about the star-plucking tower. Could it be that he intends to interfere? Damn it, this Xiao shouldn't have said that. When he interferes, I'll teach him a lesson. Just as Immortal Emperor Go Chen finished speaking, Dongfang Qianghao seized the opportunity and said, Haha, if that's the case, the Yuan clan and the Zhongsun clan should be warned. Their hands have stretched too far. Hearing Dongfang Qianghao's words, Xiao Hua suddenly understood. The black-clothed men he met in the star-plucking tower in front of the Crimson Earth River were the tower lords of the star-plucking tower who were preparing to betray him. It turned out that they were instigated by the Yuan clan and the Zhongsun clan to betray him. However, thinking about it, it made sense. Powerful clans like the Immortal Palace and the four great clans might know of Fairy Xingyu's origins, so they naturally wouldn't harbor any thoughts of doing anything to her. The Yuan clan and the Zhongsun clan were only first-rate clans. Seeing how prosperous the star-plucking tower was, it was inevitable that they would covet it. Ha! Immortal Emperor Go Chen sneered. Who dares to covet the star-plucking tower under my 9th princess's control? That's good. Xiao Hua smiled and said, This saves my fortune gate from taking action. Immortal Emperor Go Chen then transmitted a few words to the Dragon Island's second elder, as if they were discussing something. Xiao Hua frowned and said, Your Majesty, if possible. Should we invite the Grand Mist Ancestor to the Lingyun Side Palace? Although his forces aren't too strong, we need to discuss how to deal with the apocalypse. His sky-bearing palace might be able to help. Immortal Emperor Go Chen stopped and looked at Xiao Hua with surprise. He smiled and said, Master Xiao Lei, could it be that you think the jade pupil that Brat Grand Mist Ancestor took out is his true strength? Xiao Hua shrugged, his face indifferent as he replied, Then how much strength you bring out has nothing to do with this Xiao. This Xiao doesn't put him in my eyes at all. This Xiao only feels that. Everyone is responsible for the rise and fall of a country. He should also bear some responsibility for the survival of the 3 continents. Moreover, he is still a member of my Dao Gate and is this Xiao's senior. This Xiao feels that he has the qualifications to stand here. Good. The Golden Rock cheered. Master Xiao Long, it seems like you are still the Master Xiao in this sage's eyes. You are not the kind of person who forgets his friends for a girl. Forgets his friends for a girl? Xiao Hua didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He looked at the Golden Rock and said, Sage Peng, is this Xiao so unbearable? How can you not be? The Golden Rock shouted, Old Go Chen is Master Lei and stuffed his daughter into your arms. You even helped him escape from the Longevity Town. How can you say? Cough cough. Without waiting for the Golden Rock to finish, Dongfang Qianghao coughed twice and said, Sage Peng, the past is the past. Don't mention it again. Ha! The Golden Rock laughed and shouted, Indeed, indeed. If this sage was suppressed, he would definitely kill all his enemies after escaping. Then, he would enter the Great Sage Hall openly. However, the human race is a little strange. Look at that brat Hong Meng. Back then, he was played by us until he was. Now that he has escaped, he doesn't repent and keeps coming here. Do you think he's tired of living? Could it be that he wants to be stuffed into the eye of the sea? Sage Peng is wrong, Aoe said with a smile. There was indeed a reason why I didn't kill him back then. Today, Hong Meng dared to come to the Lingyun Side Hall. Naturally, he has something to rely on. Isn't it just that his strength has reached the peak of the 3 continents? The Golden Rock sneered, If I'm not happy, I will still kill him. The Yin Yang Illustration Handbook. The mystic armored pentagram smiled bitterly, Sage Peng. Have you forgotten about this treasure? This brat Hong Meng can be considered a genius. He actually refined the treasure that suppressed him. Now, even if you want to kill him, it won't be easy. There's also Xiao Longshi. Ao Qian, the lord of the East Sea Dragon Palace, said with a smile. This brat Hong Meng has a good idea. He and Xiao Longsher are both from the human Dao sect. As long as Xiao Longsher is here, Xiao Longsher will definitely not let anyone touch him. Furthermore, I am certain that the disciples of the Sky-Bearing Palace Hall have already been sent to every corner of the hidden immortal continent. If anything happens to Hong Meng, if news of Xiao Longsher colluding with Immortal Emperor Go Chen and working together to kill the cultivators of the Dao sect will definitely spread. Plus, with the matter of Xiao Longsher and Princess Zixia, who won't believe this rumor? At that time, not only will Xiao Longsher's reputation be damaged, even the Immortal Emperor will be implicated. Maybe some stories will even spread. Humph. Immortal Emperor Go Chen snorted. Hong Meng's strength is nothing, but his scheming is 100 times stronger than Xiao Longsher's. Xiao Longsher, you must be careful. Ha ha ha. Dongfang Qianghao laughed and pointed at Immortal Emperor Go Chen. Your Majesty, Xiao Hua is a Taoist Mahayana realm cultivator. He is an enemy of us Confucian cultivators, but this old official can't hear any hostility from your words. Minister Dongfang, you are also a Confucian cultivator and an important official of the Immortal Palace. How about this? This emperor will order you to lead the Dongfang family. No, lead the disciples of the 4 great clans to attack the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range. What do you think? Immortal Emperor Go Chen asked with a faint smile. Dongfang Qianghao didn't hesitate and said seriously, of course. However, back then, when we suppressed Hong Meng, we had to involve the demon race and the Buddhist sect. Today, the Fortune Gate is much stronger than Hong Meng. This old official wants to ask for your Majesty's favor. In the Soaring Cloud Side Palace, we will attack together with the Great Sage Hall, Thunder Sound Temple, and the Dragon Island and Exquisite Temple. Dongfang Qianghao and the others' words were full of ridicule, but in fact, there was a hint of flattery. This was extremely rare from the supreme cultivators of the 3 continents. Of course, this wasn't only because of Xiao Hua's strength. It was also because the current situation was very delicate. Immortal Emperor Go Chen took the initiative and used Princess Zixia to win over Xiao Hua. If the Dongfang family, the dragon race, and the demon race wanted to win over Xiao Hua, they had to do it from another angle. Otherwise, the balance of the 3 continents would be disrupted, and who knew which side would suffer. However, Xiao Hua's mind wasn't here. He frowned and said, everyone, this Xiao has already said that the Fortune Gate is the same as the Xiao country. It will never be a hegemon. As long as this Xiao is here, I will restrain my disciples. You don't have to worry. Nah. The 3 continents are showing signs of the end of the world. Strange insects have appeared at the borders of the 3 continents and will soon sweep towards the central region. We don't have much time left. If we don't discuss a suitable countermeasure, the 3 continents will be in danger. Amitabha, Lord Guan Yin. The Dipankara archaic Buddha smiled and said, you keep saying that the world is showing signs of the end of the world, but have you really seen the end of the world? This. Xiao Hua was at a loss for words. Of course, he couldn't say that he had seen the end of the world in the ruins. If that brat Primordial Meng was here, he definitely wouldn't rush us like this, nor would he say such things. Dongfang Qianghao smiled and said, he only knows how to wait. Only by waiting will there be benefits. He only hopes that everyone can start from the latest chapters. The story of the immortal world and the desolate era is in everyone's hands. The 3rd place winner tearfully asks for subscriptions. If the subscriptions exceed 1,000, the immortal world will be opened. If the monthly votes exceed 100, the next chapter will be opened. If the monthly votes exceed 1,000, the next chapter will be opened. How Xiao Hua went against the light to become a martial saint will depend on everyone. The 3rd place winner thanks everyone. Chapter 4671. Benefits. When Xiao Hua heard this word, he couldn't help but burst into laughter. He had never taken the benefits of the 3 continents seriously. As such, he had never thought about it. Yet, many people who talked about the people of the world had placed benefits in their hearts. Could it be? After Xiao Hua understood, he said with righteous indignation, you're not discussing how to resist the world-exterminating strange insects here in the Lingyun Side Hall. Instead, you're discussing how to divide the benefits? Thunder Master Xiao is wrong. Dongfang Qianghao replied without the slightest hint of awkwardness. We're discussing how to resist the world-exterminating strange insects, but at the same time, we're also dividing the areas of influence. Amitabha. The Dipankara archaic Buddha's world lord chanted. Wasn't this matter caused by Banti Guanyin? Sigh, I understand now. Xiao Hua nodded slightly. If we don't divide the areas of influence, how can we determine who is resisting the strange insects? If we didn't find a suitable place for our Fortune Gate disciples in the 3 continents and 4 seas, how can you let our Fortune Gate disciples resist the strange insects? Indeed. The profound armored Pentaceratops nodded. That's why the immortal emperor didn't invite that brat Grand Miss to the Lingyun side hall. He's not qualified. Yes. It's precisely because the Grand Mist ancestor saw through the true meaning of the Jade Lake's gathering that he was willing to shamelessly wait outside. He was willing to reveal part of his forces in order to obtain the qualifications to enter. Xiao Hua said slowly, because today's Jade Lake gathering is a grand event to divide the forces of the world. After today, he won't be qualified to stand on the stage of the 3 continents. Yes. What can be obtained with just a few words today will be obtained with blood and battle tomorrow. How can he be willing to withdraw so easily? Immortal Emperor Go Chen replied meaningfully. Good. Xiao Hua nodded and said resolutely, if that's the case, how do you intend to send my Fortune Gate away? Thunder Master Xiao. Immortal Emperor Go Chen said unhappily. How can you say that you're sending us away? Your Fortune Gate is now the publicly acknowledged mighty force of the 3 continents. Even I had to come out to welcome you when you came to participate in the Jade Lake gathering. Do I need to pay so much attention to you just sending us away? All right. Your Majesty, everyone, forgive me for speaking bluntly. Xiao Hua really wanted to let them go to the ruins to see the miserable state of the dragon race being slaughtered by that strange insect. He really wanted to beat these supreme beings who were addicted to benefits awake with a single blow. However, he had no other way and could only earnestly advise. This Xiao is truly somewhat disappointed. This Xiao is not interested in the so-called division of power. This Xiao is only interested in how to resist and kill these strange insects. This Xiao has never seen Armageddon, and I don't know if any of you have, but this Xiao has seen that strange insect. Truly formidable. Master Xiao. Aoe smiled and said, don't you think too highly of us? Others might not know how powerful that strange insect is, but the Dragon Clan of my Dragon Island and the Dragon Clan of the 4 Seas know. A strange insect had killed countless dragons. How could the Dragon Island not pay attention to it? Moreover, the West Sea Dragon King went missing, the Dragon Clan and the Oceanic Clan suffered heavy casualties, the Demon Realm of the 1,000 Demons Sacred Realm disappeared, the Demon King and Great Demons were killed, and the Guardian Heavenly Kings of the Pure Land was also killed. How could we not pay attention to it? However, ordinary wars require troops to set up formations. Fighting against the world-exterminating strange insect isn't a one-on-one battle. We have to plan for the long term. Immortal Emperor Go Chen sighed. Amitabha. The Dipankara archaic Buddha also pressed his palms together and said, my Thunder Monastery has already sent Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and other Buddhas to lead guardian heavenly kings and other Buddhist soldiers to the borders of the Blessed Land world to defend against the world-exterminating strange insect and prevent it from invading the center of the Blessed Land world. My great Sage Hall's Scarlet Flame Vermilion Bird, Nether Demonic Dragon Spider, and 5-colored Sea God Shell have already led the demon race to the borders of the 1,000 Demons Sacred Realm. Within the Great Sage Hall, the heaven-defying Thunder Phoenix and the Flying Feather Void Beast are left to guard. Master Xiao. Immortal Emperor Go Chen smiled and said, I have already sent troops to the borders of the buried immortal mainland. The 4 great families and the 100 schools of thought have already sent troops. Did your star-plucking tower not receive any news of this? Hehe. Xiao Hua also smiled and said, the star-plucking tower is currently under Princess Zixia's control. If she doesn't tell this Xiao wouldn't dare to casually ask her. Please don't. Immortal Emperor Go Chen curled his lips and said, you are the sect master of the Fortune Gate, and she is only your wife. You have to be clear about who the head of the Fortune Gate is. Don't regret it in the end. Xiao Hua opened his mouth wide and looked at Immortal Emperor Go Chen in a daze with an exaggerated expression. If this was the secular world, how could a father-in-law speak to his son-in-law like this? Hehe. Xiao Hua suddenly thought of something called the Flower Medicine Palace and couldn't help but chuckle. Of course, I invited Master Xiao here today because I have a difficult matter to discuss with you. The East Sea Dragon Palace Lord Ao Chen said. Also, I have a few difficult matters to discuss with you all. Xueqi smiled and said, "This difficult matter is naturally. Where should my Fortune Gate's disciples be stationed?" Previously, this Xiao didn't have a clue, but seeing that no one else spoke, and only immortal friend Ao Qian spoke, this Xiao somewhat understood. I presume that before this Xiao arrived, everyone had already discussed this matter, right? Since Master Xiao is so straightforward, this king will also get straight to the point. Seeing that Xueqi had exposed him, Ao Qian simply nodded and said, "Master Xiao is right. The three mainlands originally belonged to the demonic beast race, Confucian cultivators, and Buddhist sects. Master Zhao's Fortune Gate is a Dao sect, and it is not suitable to be placed in any of the three mainlands. With this suspicion, it will be difficult to work together to deal with the world-destroying strange insect, and it will be impossible to work together. Rather than this, Master Xiao and the Fortune Gate might as well look elsewhere." "I'm afraid it's the West Sea?" Xueqi's eyes narrowed as he asked thoughtfully. "That's right." The East Sea Dragon Palace's Lord Ao Qian looked at Aoe and shut his mouth. The Dragon Island's second elder Aoe nodded and said, "Master Xiao has also been to the Dragon Island and participated in the Dragon Island's training. Naturally, you know how vast the four seas are, and how many times bigger than the three mainlands. Moreover, the three mainlands' population is prosperous, and there are many cultivators and demonic beasts. It should be easy to deal with the world-destroying strange insect. One more Fortune Gate won't make a difference. Although there are many Sea Clan and Dragon Clan in the four seas, the reproduction of the Sea Clan and Dragon Clan is far less than that of the Human Clan. Their numbers are also much smaller. Therefore, the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas is already struggling to defend the Four Seas. Even if the Dragon Island only sends out the necessary Dragon Clan to guard the Four Seas, it is still far from enough. Moreover, the West Sea Dragon Palace has suffered a great defeat, and Ao Hong's whereabouts are unknown. The entire West Sea is now empty so the Dragon Island wants to borrow my Fortune Gate strength to guard the West Sea." Xueqi smiled as he began to make small calculations in his heart. Xueqi was no exception. He had just mocked Ao Hong, and now he was making plans for himself. "Yes." Aoe did not deny. He nodded and said, "Dragon Teacher Xiao is my Dragon Tribe's Dragon Teacher. The Fortune Gate also has enlightened Master Yun. Both of you are respected by my Dragon Tribe. The two of you are guarding the West Sea, and no Dragon Tribe dares to say no." "Hee, that's right." Enlightened Master Yun split the South Sea Dragon Palace. Which Dragon Tribe member can withstand Pangu's axe? Xueqi sneered inwardly. Ao Qian continued, "Moreover, the Paradise River of the Three Rivers is very powerful now. Under Jiang Hong's leadership, they have already invaded the West Sea. Jiang Hong is a Fortune Gate disciple. If Dragon Teacher Xiao doesn't go, who can? There's also Ao Zhan." Aoe did not forget to point out, he has also caused great waves in the East Sea and West Sea. Now is the time when we need people. It is not good for our Dragon Tribe to have internal strife. He admires Dragon Teacher Xiao the most. If you don't go, who can suppress him? Xueqi smiled in his heart, but the worry on his face deepened. He said reluctantly, "Second Elder, you are telling the truth. I also want to agree. But my Fortune Gate disciples are all humans. Jiang Hong and the other Dragon Tribe members are only a small part. I can go to the West Sea with enlightened Master Yun, but how can I let the Fortune Gate disciples go? Moreover, my Fortune Gate has a good foundation in the soaring Dragon Mountain range. How can I just give it up? It's not appropriate. Not appropriate." This old man does not intend to let Dragon Teacher Xiao give up the soaring Dragon Mountain range. Aoe replied cunningly, "Once Dragon Teacher Xiao defeats the world-destroying strange insect, he can naturally lead the Fortune Gate disciples back to the soaring Dragon Mountain range." Cough cough. Immortal Emperor Gaochen coughed twice. He did not care about his dignity as an immortal emperor and said, "Second Elder, what you said is wrong. How could Xiao Lei return empty-handed when he went to the West Sea? How can a small soaring Dragon Mountain range accommodate the Fortune Gate's ferocious army?" Immortal Emperor Gaochen's current mood was no different from the Grand Mist ancestor outside the Soaring Cloud faction hall. One was shameless and wanted to enter the Soaring Cloud faction hall by any means possible. If he lost this opportunity, he would not have the chance to stand on the stage of the three continents. The other was shameless and wanted to invite the Fortune Gate disciples away from the soaring Dragon Mountain range by any means possible. If he lost this opportunity, he would not have the chance to invite Xueqi to leave. Old man Gauchen. Aoe did not care about immortal Emperor Gauchen's attitude. He smiled and said, "It's not that my Dragon Island doesn't agree. It's just that Dragon Teacher Xiao doesn't care about my West Sea. He is a human, and he still prefers to stay on the continent." That. Immortal Emperor Gauchen smiled and said, "Dragon Teacher Xiao, there are many immortal mountains in the depths of the West Sea. They are much stronger than the soaring Dragon Mountain range. Dragon Teacher Xiao, you can look around casually when you are fighting the strange insect. You will definitely find a suitable place." Look around casually? Your Majesty is too relaxed. Xueqi smiled and said, "Even the Dragon Kings of the Four Seas could not find the immortal mountains. How can I find them?" "That's because they don't want to." Immortal Emperor Gauchen persuaded. "They are used to the sea and never care about immortal mountains. Naturally, they won't be able to find them. If Dragon Teacher Xiao goes to look for them, you will definitely find them." "Maybe I can find them." Xueqi smiled and said, "But this Xiao's Fortune Gate has spent so much effort on the soaring Dragon Mountain range. Oh, this Xiao also has the newly established Xiao country. If the Fortune Gate goes, wouldn't the Xiao country be divided?" Immortal Emperor Gauchen was angry and found it funny as he replied, "If Dragon Teacher Xiao cares about the people of the Xiao country, you shouldn't be bargaining. If you don't go to the West Sea to guard it, when the strange insect comes, none of the people of the Xiao country will be able to survive." "Damn it, old man Gauchen, didn't you say your conditions before?" The golden-winged Great Peng couldn't hold back and scolded. "No matter what, Dragon Teacher Xiao is your son-in-law. Can't you be a bit more generous?" "Rock Sage, it's easy for you to say that." Immortal Emperor Go Chen retorted without any trace of politeness. "I have bestowed Princess Xia a lot. This is rare among the princesses of my immortal palaces. Moreover, I also have a decree for Bai and Fujiwen's wife. It's just a few words of nonsense. What's the use of a few titles?" The golden-winged Great Peng sneered. "It's better to give some real stuff." "All right." Immortal Emperor Gauchen said helplessly, "Dragon Teacher Xiao, tell me, if your Fortune Gate leaves the soaring Dragon Mountain range, what price will this emperor have to pay? Why do you have to make this Xiao leave?" Xueqi didn't understand and said, "The Fortune Gate is in the soaring Dragon Mountain range, and Princess Xia is also in the Fortune Gate. If she wants to go back to her family, wouldn't it be convenient?" "Haha." Dragon Teacher Xiao. Dongfeng Qianghao, who had been silent all this time, laughed and said, "We don't need to play dumb here. We might as well speak the truth. You are a Taoist cultivator, and the hidden immortal continent is the 9 prefectures unified by us Confucian cultivators. Your Fortune Gate is in the soaring Dragon Mountain range. Isn't this a thorn in the flesh of us Confucian cultivators? The struggle between Confucian and Taoist has been going on for many years. It's not something that can be changed in a short period of time. Rather than both of us being embarrassed and inconvenient for each other to develop, why don't we each take a step back? We Confucian cultivators will allow your Taoist sect to develop in the West Sea, and your Taoist sect will withdraw from the hidden immortal continent. What do you think?" And Xueqi nodded slightly. From the Seven Suns Temple's bloodsteel, he also saw the abnormal development of the Taoist sect's cultivators. The Taoist sect's cultivators had already affected his reputation. Moreover, the 3 mainland suppression of Confucian cultivators to allow Confucian cultivators to develop overseas was indeed a concession. No, it should be said that it was a huge concession. Instantly, Xueqi thought of the Panglai immortal realm. Xueqi's mind turned a few times. He wanted to ask Immortal Emperor Gauchen to release the Taoist cultivators in the Panglai immortal realm. However, after thinking for a while, he gave up. Not to mention that the Panglai immortal realm was related to the effects of the supreme heavenly mirror. Immortal Emperor Gauchen was unlikely to relent. Moreover, most of the Taoist cultivators in the Panglai immortal realm were probably like Taoist Master Rider Crane. They had an impression of the Grand Mist Ancestor and might not care about him. Why should Xueqi be so generous? Dragon Teacher Xiao, you agree? Dongfeng Qianghao was overjoyed when he saw Xueqi nod. He wanted to send Xueqi away even more than Immortal Emperor Gauchen. With him, the balance between the immortal palace and the four great families was broken. Dongfeng Qianghao and the four great families were not willing to see such a situation, especially the Nangong family. It's the same in principle. Xiao Hua nodded. Then, without any surprise, he changed his tone and said, however, I still have 3 conditions. 3 conditions? Dongfeng Qianghao was secretly delighted. He stole a glance at Immortal Emperor Gaochen. Immortal Emperor Gaochen smiled and said, Dragon Teacher Xiao, please speak. In front of the Thunder Temple and Great Sage Hall, we will be frank and honest. First, Xiao Hua rubbed his chin and said with a smile, At this point, Your Majesty still doesn't want to take out the true great array of the 9 states and the secret technique of the 9 cauldrons united? This. Immortal Emperor Gaochen was clearly embarrassed. He hesitated and said, Since that person isn't here, why does Dragon Teacher Xiao need the formation technique? And the secret technique of the 9 cauldrons united? I don't need it. Xiao Hua said, however, I don't like to be called scheming by others. Therefore I want it. Sigh, all right. Immortal Emperor Gaochen looked at Xiao Hua's shameless words and sighed. I have lifted a rock and smashed my own foot. As he spoke, Immortal Emperor Gaochen raised his hand and clapped. Boom. Below him, the illusion of a golden throne appeared. Once this illusion appeared, it immediately sealed the surrounding space. Even Dongfeng Qianghao, who was far away, was pushed to the point that colorful clouds appeared around him. Immortal Emperor Gaochen raised his hand and pointed at the 9 cauldrons on the golden throne. The 9 cauldrons turned into a fist-sized object. This object was formed by the 9 cauldrons and each of them flashed with a golden light. Dragon Teacher Xiao. Immortal Emperor Gaochen waved his hand and that object landed in front of Xiao Hua. He said, This object cannot leave the Ling Yun side hall. Otherwise, with my strength, I will not be able to see what is inside. You can comprehend it in the Jade Lake meeting. Before you leave, you must return it to me. Well said. Xiao Hua received it with a smile and carefully put it away. Earlier, Maitreya Buddha used his mind to tell Xiao Hua that the merit law given to him by Immortal Emperor Go Chen was a fake and couldn't be completed. Thinking about Immortal Emperor Go Chen's probing, Xiao Hua knew that this merit law was only a pretense. Therefore, he asked for the real 9 cauldrons heart technique. What is the second condition? Dongfeng Qianghao was very happy to see Immortal Emperor Gaochen being defeated. The second condition. Xiao Hua looked at Dongfeng Qianghao. Dongfeng Qianghao's heart tightened. He was afraid that Xiao Hua would ask for too much. The second condition is that I want the Xian Yuan sword from the Immortal Palace. Ah? Xian Yuan sword? Not only was Dongfeng Qianghao surprised, Immortal Emperor Gaochen was also shocked. He exclaimed, Dragon Teacher Xiao, what do you want the Xian Yuan sword for? Nothing. Xiao Hua shrugged and said, I heard that the Xian Yuan sword is a Taoist treasure. Now that it has fallen into the Immortal Palace, I want to take it back. Who told you that the Xian Yuan sword is a Taoist treasure? Immortal Emperor Gaochen was flustered and exasperated. The Xian Yuan sword is a genuine immortal imperial equipment of my Confucian cultivation. It has nothing to do with your Taoist sect. Hearing Immortal Emperor Gaochen say half a copper coin, Xiao Hua secretly laughed. However, he still insisted, whether it is a Taoist treasure or not, I want it. Then there is no other way. Immortal Emperor Gaochen shrugged like Xiao Hua and said, It is not up to me to decide who the Xian Yuan sword belongs to. That is the token of the Immortal Palace's protector branch. If you want it, you can go find the master of the Supreme Pure Palace. Immortal Palace's protector? Xiao Hua was a bit confused. That day, the master of the Supreme Pure Palace easily gave the Xian Yuan sword to Wen Chu. He already had some doubts in his heart. Dongfeng Qianghao explained, Immortal Palace's protector is the protector of the Immortal Palace. That Xian Yuan sword. Hee. It is also something that can resist the Immortal Emperor's Son of Heaven sword. If the Immortal Palace's protector discovers that the Immortal Emperor is committing crimes and harming the interests of the Immortal Palace, the Xian Yuan sword will be unsheathed. This Immortal Palace's protector branch is completely loyal to the Immortal Palace, to the Confucian cultivators, and not to a certain family. Immortal Emperor Gaochen said indifferently, Even if my beloved Dongfeng can enter the Immortal Palace and sit on my golden throne, The master of the Supreme Pure Palace will still unsheathe the Xianyuan sword if he discovers that you have any ill intentions. So that's how it is. Xiaohua finally understood the difficulties of the master of the Supreme Pure Palace back then. Facing the person who loves him, facing his mission, he must make a choice. As a man, his choice is not wrong, but as a woman, his choice is very cruel. Suddenly, Xiaohua had a feeling that he had fallen into a trap. He almost jumped up. I have no reason to encourage Wen Chu to ask for the Xianyuan sword. Isn't this a trap for myself? Perhaps, the master of the Supreme Pure Palace wants to exchange something for the tenderness like water sword. And already has this plan? Damn it! Xiaohua gritted his teeth and cursed in his heart. Everyone in this world is not easy to deal with. There is no such thing as a free lunch in this world. Then, Xiaohua said fiercely, since your majesty cannot agree to this Zhao's second condition, then this Zhao has no choice but to change my second condition. Immortal Emperor Gaochen said unhappily, it's not that I don't agree, but I cannot agree to your condition. All right. Xiaohua nodded. Then this Zhao's second condition will also be simple. This old man is all ears. Dongfang Qianghao smiled and nodded. Xiaohua said, the Shao country of the Gun Prefecture is this Shao country, and also the Shao country of its people. This Shao promises that it will also be the only country of my fortune gate on the hidden immortal continent. Moreover, the Shao country's territory will not increase by an inch from today onwards. However, your majesty, please issue a decree that the surrounding countries of Confucian cultivators should not have any ideas about the Shao country. Otherwise, my fortune gate will not agree. AI, Thundermaster Shao, your fortune gate has already left the soaring Dragon Mountain range. Why do you still have to leave behind some tails? Immortal Emperor Gaochen sighed. What's the point of doing this? The ones my fortune gate left behind in the Shao country should be the disciples from the soaring Dragon Mountain range. They will be led by Xueqi and the others, and will not affect your majesty's rule. Of course, if there are no more Taoist countries in the 3 continents, then the Shao country will naturally have no value. Xiaohua thought for a moment and took half a step back. Amit Ba. The Dip Ankara archaic Buddha chanted. I feel that Banti Guanyin's condition is suitable. After all, the people of the Shao country live in peace and contentment. If they were to fall into a Confucian cultivator country, their happiness would disappear. Why not let the Shao country continue to exist? Immortal Emperor Gaochen gritted his teeth in pain. The number of Buddhist temples was increasing, and he did not care about the Shao country. He nodded and said, since that is the case, I will do the same. What is Thunder Master Zhao's third condition? The third condition is very easy for your majesty. Xiaohua took out a jade eye and respectfully handed it to Immortal Emperor Gaochen. Your majesty only needs to send the item in the jade eye to the soaring Dragon Mountain range. Seeing Xiaohua's kind smile, Immortal Emperor Gaochen had a bad feeling. After he took the jade eye and looked at it, his expression changed slightly. In just a moment, Immortal Emperor Gaochen regained his calm. He nodded and said, this compensation is fair. After all, the soaring Dragon Mountain range is the foundation of the fortune gate for hundreds of years. Minister Dongfang, I will leave this matter to the 4 great families and the 100 schools of thought. Dongfang Qianghao was caught off guard, but he was also helpless. This matter was not only related to the Immortal Palace, but also the 4 great families. Since Immortal Emperor Gaochen gave the order, it was an emperor's decree. The 4 great families and the 100 schools of thought could not disobey. Of course, Dongfang Qianghao's face turned green after reading the jade eyes. He glanced at Xiaohua and said in a low voice, this old man understands. This old man will send a message and send what Taoist Master Shao wants to the soaring Dragon Mountain range. After Dongfang Qianghao sent the jade eyes out of the Lingyun side hall, Xiaohua looked at Aoe again. Aoe immediately understood when he saw that Xiaohua had looked at him. He smiled and said, Master Shao, you've already plundered half of the treasures in the West Ocean Dragon Palace's treasury. Xiaohua chuckled and said, this Shao does not dare to ask for anything. This Shao is just thinking, if our fortune gate manages to resist the world-destroying strange insects in the West Sea and fails to find the overseas immortal mountains, then we would have to give up on the soaring Dragon Mountain range. Wouldn't our fortune gate become a wanderer who can't return home? No, of course not. The golden-winged great Peng immediately understood what Xiaohua wanted to say, and hurriedly shouted, "We can't let the Fortune Gate's disciples bleed and cry, we must appease them." "Your grandmother." Ao Qian cursed inwardly, "We haven't even seen the world-destroying strange insect. Why are the Fortune Gate's disciples bleeding and crying? Each and every one of them is sinister." Aoe glanced at Ao Qian and asked Xiaohua in a low voice, "Dragon Master Xiao, could it be that you want to—" Aoe looked at Ao Qian again as he said that. "Impossible. Impossible. Impossible." Ao Qian's dragon body expanded in an instant, and the silvery white flames around him soared to the sky. He roared, "The Fortune Gate is just a branch of the human race. How can they enter my West Sea Dragon Palace? Not to mention this king, even the North Sea Dragon Palace and South Sea Dragon Palace will not agree. Second Elder, if you are an elder of my dragon race, you will not agree to this condition. If Dragon Master Zhao's Fortune Gate wants to set up defenses in the West Sea, my Dragon Palace of the Four Seas will welcome him. If he is unwilling to go, he can go wherever he wants. My Dragon Palace of the Four Seas would rather die in battle than give up the West Sea Dragon Palace's position." Xiaohua naturally coveted the West Sea Dragon Palace's position in his heart, and he had planned this from a long time ago. However, when he saw the East Sea Dragon King's anger, he only needed to set up defenses, and he obtained a lot of benefits from the Confucian cultivator. Although the Dragon Island in front of him wanted to interfere with the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas, the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas also needed his help, so he couldn't make unrealistic demands. Thus, Xiaohua smiled and said, "Fellow immortal Ao, it seems this Xiao hasn't finished saying my request, right?" Say it, say it." Ao Qian coldly said, "If you don't covet my West Sea Dragon Palace's throne, why would you send Zhang Hong to invade the West Sea? Why would you threaten my dragon race again? You've really wronged my Fortune Gate's disciple." Xiaohua rubbed his nose and laughed. Zhang Hong heard that there were strange insects in the West Sea, so she led the dragon race there. Moreover, this Zhao's condition is to wait until the West Sea's strange insects are killed, then let the Second Elder see if he can give the other half of the West Sea's treasury to my Fortune Gate. Ao Qian was a little surprised, but he still didn't believe Xiaohua, so he looked at Aoe. How could Aoe admit that he was talking about the West Sea Dragon Palace's throne? He smiled and said, "Yes, you're too impatient. This old man is talking about the treasury. This Xiao has seen the West Sea's treasury, and has always been drooling over the other half." Xiaohua smiled and said, "Moreover, this Xiao can also swear to the heavens that my Fortune Gate's disciple will never sit on the West Sea Dragon Palace's dragon throne." Of course, Xiaohua was still laughing in his heart. Xiao Bai is not a Fortune Gate's disciple, so it's fine if he sits on the dragon throne. Humph. Ao Qian harumphed coldly. The West Sea Dragon Palace's dragon throne has disappeared with Ao Hong. Presumably it has been swallowed by the strange insects. It's impossible for your Fortune Gate's disciple to sit on it. That's right. The golden-winged Great Peng didn't miss the opportunity to say, "Since Dragon Teacher Xiao has sworn, then this holy sage will also be a witness. If a Fortune Gate's disciple sits on the West Sea Dragon Palace's dragon throne, my great holy hall will not let this matter go. Io, that's not right. It should be this time. This holy sage will not interfere in the future." And the Lord of the East Sea's dragon body shrunk and nodded. "If that's the case, after repelling the strange insects, my Dragon Palace of the Four Seas is willing to hand over the West Sea Dragon Palace's treasury to the Fortune Gate as a token of gratitude. However, this matter will need to be discussed in detail in the future." "Excellent, excellent." Maitreya Buddha, who had been silent all this time, joined his palms together and said, "Since that's the case, let us discuss some other difficult matters." "Namo Maitreya Buddha. Please wait a moment." Xiaohua smiled and joined his palms together. "Since the Fortune Gate's matter has come to an end, then, shouldn't we let the sky-bearing palace bear some responsibility?" Immortal Emperor Gaochen nodded and said, "That's right. Dragon Teacher Zhao's words are in line with this emperor's thoughts. We, the Confucian cultivators, have already promised the Tao Gate that we can develop outside the West Sea. Naturally, the Tao Gate should bear some responsibility. Since the sky-bearing palace belongs to the Tao Gate, then it should be like the Fortune Gate and go to the West Sea to resist the strange insects. Inform Ancestor Grand Mist." Outside the soaring cloud-side palace, the Grand Mist Ancestor, Taoist Rider Crane, and Anya Z stood with their hands behind their backs. Although they were whispering to each other, their gazes were constantly on the soaring cloud-side palace's door. However, the three of them had different expressions. Taoist Rider Crane and Anya Z were obviously anxious, and in just a short moment, they had already glanced at the door several times. On the other hand, the Grand Mist Ancestor was indeed an ambitious and ruthless character. Although he occasionally glanced at the door, most of the time, he was calm and indifferent. In the end, Taoist Rider Crane couldn't take it anymore. He looked at the ferocious immortal generals in front of the soaring cloud-side palace and whispered, "Sect Master, how long has it been? Are we still waiting here? No matter what, we are still high-level cultivators of the Tao Gate. Are we going to stand here like beggars? It feels like we are waiting for the immortal palace to give us leftovers." The taciturn Anya Z also chimed in, "Sect Master, our sky-bearing palace doesn't rely on the fortune gate. Isn't our development in the hidden immortal continent very good? Why do we have to stick our warm faces to their cold buttocks? We are being looked down on for no reason." Humph. Grand Mist Ancestor snorted coldly and glanced at the two of them. He understood that most cultivators were obsessed with cultivation and didn't understand the art of politics. Anya Z and Taoist Rider Crane were considered famous figures in the sky-bearing palace, but they couldn't see the current situation clearly. The Grand Mist Ancestor explained the current situation in a low voice. His analysis was exactly the same as what Immortal Emperor Go Chan had said. In the end, he said, "If we can't enter the soaring cloud-side palace and participate in the Jade Lake gathering, our sky-bearing palace will lose our best chance. Of course, it's not like we don't have a chance in the future, but in the future, Xiao Hua's fortune gate will definitely attack our sky-bearing palace. We can't fight for such good conditions anymore. What if?" Anya Z hesitated and probed. "The fortune gate, Buddhist sect, Thunder Sound Temple, and Great Sage Hall reach an agreement and join forces to destroy our sky-bearing palace?" Hee. The Grand Mist Ancestor laughed arrogantly. "So, this old man is betting. Betting that Xiao Hua won't do that." Taoist Rider Crane's expression changed slightly. He looked at Anya Z and the two of them had fear in their eyes. Xiao Hua has always prided himself on being benevolent and magnanimous. If this old man deliberately avoided him, it would be as he wished. However, this old man took the risk and delivered himself to his door. This old man wants to see. The Grand Mist Ancestor laughed and said indifferently, "What will the famous Taoist Xiao do?" "Sect Master, how confident are you?" Taoist Rider Crane asked in a low voice. "Not even half." The Grand Mist Ancestor chuckled and said, "Because if it was this old man would definitely kill him." "No, it can't be." Taoist Rider Crane saw that the Grand Mist Ancestor's words were completely different from what he had said before coming to the soaring cloud-side palace. His face turned pale and he whispered, "If the Sect Master isn't confident, he's going to walk into the trap?" Haha. The Grand Mist Ancestor laughed when he saw how nervous Taoist Rider Crane and Anya Z were. He clapped his hands and said, "The two of you are really funny. If this old man wasn't confident, why would I come here? Previously, we didn't have a chance. This old man endured humiliation and hid from the Immortal Palace's pursuit. Now that this old man dares to come here, how can I not have a chance?" "Don't worry. Xiao Hua claims to be the leader of the Taoist Gate. Since he dares to erect a bloodsteel in the Seven Suns Shrine, he definitely won't let the Immortal Palace make a move on the Sky-bearing Palace. Moreover, if he wanted to make a move, why would he wait until now? He has plenty of chances in the Longevity Town." Yes, this subordinate understands." Taoist Rider Crane and Anya Z nodded their heads. However, they still felt that the Grand Mist Ancestor's idea was too crazy. Also, the Grand Mist Ancestor lost his composure and revealed some of his thoughts. He didn't think that it would affect his subordinate so much. He smiled regretfully and said, "The two of you aren't at the Taoist Gate's Mahayana realm. Even if the Immortal Palace wants to." Just as the Grand Mist Ancestor was speaking, a thunderous voice rang out from the soaring cloud-side palace. "Summon the Grand Mist Ancestor." Ha! The Grand Mist Ancestor stopped and laughed loudly. "What do you think of this old man?" "Congratulations, Sect Master." Reverend Rider Crane and Anya Zizi replied respectfully with smiles on their faces. "Let's go. Follow this old man to the soaring cloud-side palace. The Grand Mist Ancestor seemed to be elated as he waved his hand. Sect Master, please. Taoist Rider Crane and Anya Z bowed and invited the Grand Mist Ancestor to go first. Unfortunately, the Grand Mist Ancestor only flew for a short while before he was blocked by the immortal general of the soaring cloud-side palace. The Grand Mist Ancestor frowned and said, "This old man is the Grand Mist Ancestor. The immortal emperor has issued a decree. Why aren't you moving out of the way?" The immortal general looked at the Grand Mist Ancestor with disdain and said indifferently, "This general is here to guard the door. Without the immortal emperor's decree, no one is allowed to pass." Damn it! The Grand Mist Ancestor immediately understood the meaning of those words. He raised his head and looked at the side of the door. Indeed, there was another immortal general guarding the side door. Thinking back to Xueqi's glory when he entered the soaring cloud-side palace and his current predicament, the Grand Mist Ancestor gritted his teeth. However, he took a deep breath and regained his composure. His figure flashed as he brought Taoist Rider Crane and Anya Z to the side door. "This old man is the Grand Mist Ancestor. I am here to see the immortal emperor." The Grand Mist Ancestor spoke politely, and the immortal general guarding the door didn't make things difficult for him. He looked at the Grand Mist Ancestor from head to toe and moved to the side. However, just as the Grand Mist Ancestor passed through, the immortal general raised his weapon and blocked Taoist Rider Crane and Anya Z. The Grand Mist Ancestor was displeased and said, "This is this old man's follower." Unfortunately, the immortal general's face was as cold as stone. He didn't even look at the Grand Mist Ancestor, and only raised his weapon to block them outside the side door. "You wait here." The Grand Mist Ancestor was very decisive. After thinking for a while, he stepped into the side door of the soaring cloud-side palace. Taoist Master Rider Crane and Anya looked at each other in dismay. Both of them looked at each other and rejoiced. Their bodies fluttered, and they flew out of the side door for a short distance. Then they clasped their hands together and stood still in the air. Also, I thank everyone for supporting Divinity Cultivation. If everyone can enjoy this chapter, it will be the greatest gratification for the third place. At the same time, I will take this opportunity to call for more readers to subscribe to the original version of this book. The third place doesn't ask for everyone to subscribe to the previous chapters. I only hope that everyone can start from the last chapter. The story of the immortal world and the desolate era is in everyone's hands. The third place tearfully asks for subscriptions. If the number of subscriptions exceeds 1,000, the immortal world will be opened. If the number of subscriptions exceeds 1,000, the immortal world will be opened. If the number of subscriptions exceeds 100, the immortal world will be opened. If the number of subscriptions exceeds 1,000, the immortal world will be opened. How Xueqi went against the light to become a sage completely depends on everyone. The third place thanks. Chapter 4672. At this moment, near the huge Lingyun side palace, millions of Aoran Chi pillars were still roaring in the stalactite palace. Countless clouds condensed and flashed with a dazzling brilliance. This brilliance was like the sun and the moon, illuminating the entire space. However, where there was light there was also darkness. The darkness was like the wrinkles of time, occasionally appearing where there was light. Within the wrinkles, there would occasionally be many black spots. These black spots were either hidden in the void or in the darkness. They didn't emit any magic power fluctuations. They were really like black spots that couldn't be easily discovered. However, where the black spot was, the light was swallowed up by the wind of time. Strands of light that seemed to be hollowed out were produced in an uncanny manner. They were like flowers blooming in the multicolored light screen. When the layers of black spots gradually became denser, within the Aoran Chi pillars, a fist-sized black shadow appeared. This shadow wasn't full, instead, it was like a thin image. However, this shadow gradually elongated and could be seen clearly. Wasn't this the world-destroying strange insect that Xueqi mentioned? Half of this strange insect's size was its head. There were 2 long antennae on its head, which were swaying at will. As the antennae swayed, the flake-like shadow strangely folded and extended in the light. After a while, the strange insect seemed to have swallowed the light, and its entire body began to bulge. However, it only bulged a few inches. In the middle of the strange worm's body, layers of grayish patches had just appeared when the entire body of the strange worm collapsed. Soon after, The shattered pieces transformed into even smaller illusionary figures that hurriedly seeped into the multicolored light. The halberd-like hind legs of each illusionary figure flashed with a bright light that was different from the multicolored light. The supreme experts of the three continents gathered in the Lingyun side palace to discuss how to resist the strange insect from the outer realm. They thought that the strange insect from the outer realm invaded the three continents from the boundary of the world. They didn't expect that the strange insect from the outer realm had invaded the three continents through the veins of the void. Now, it had already spread throughout the void of the three continents. Immortal Palace, Thunderclap Temple, Dragon Island, and the Great Holy Temple wanted to set up a defense line between the three continents and the four seas, but now the three continents had become a defenseless slaughterhouse. Immortal Emperor Go-Chan was in charge of the side palace, but due to his carelessness, he didn't notice this anomaly. The Grand Mist Ancestor was even more unaware of this matter. At this time, he had already passed through the side door of the side palace and was greeted by the sight of 5 majestic mountains towering under the blue dome of heaven. A vigorous feeling immediately rose from the bottom of his heart as if his blood was boiling. The Grand Mist Ancestor opened his mouth and let out a long roar. His body suddenly expanded and turned into 2 black and white rays of light that shot towards the top of the thunderbolt where Xueqi was. Humph. Xueqi didn't say anything, but the lightning Taoist was a little displeased. He snorted coldly, and 100 zhong-long lightning bolt appeared in front of the Grand Mist Ancestor with a loud boom. "Ha! Thunderbolt Immortal, are you welcoming me?" The Grand Mist Ancestor laughed heartily and rubbed his hands together. Gotcha! More than 10 black and white rays of light appeared in the space around him and landed on the lightning bolt like stars surrounding the moon. It was very strange. Zzzt. A sound similar to cold water falling into a pot of hot oil rang out. The black and white rays of light actually penetrated the lightning bolt and turned into threads of light that completely entangled the lightning bolt. Amidst the crackling sound, the 100 zhong-long lightning bolt collapsed and disappeared. However, the moment the lightning bolt disappeared, a scarlet-red lightning bolt pounced out like a spirit snake and slammed into the Grand Mist Ancestor's left shoulder with lightning speed. Boom! The golden light barrier around the Grand Mist Ancestor's body flickered and blocked the lightning. However, the Grand Mist Ancestor's body staggered as he came to a stop. The smug look on his face was replaced with shock, shame, and anger. Fellow Taoist Thunderbolt. The Grand Mist Ancestor stood there and lowered his head to look at the golden light on his left shoulder. What is the meaning of this? A brat who hasn't reached the peak of the Grand Ascension realm dares to stand shoulder to shoulder with me. The lightning Taoist didn't know any modesty and scolded without any trace of politeness. Ha! Xueqi laughed and said, "Fellow Taoist Grand Mist, although the lightning Taoist's words aren't pleasant to hear, he has good intentions. Don't forget, today you and I are guests at the High Cloud Side Hall. If you want to sit down, I'm afraid you have to see Immortal Emperor Go-Chen first, right? If you come here directly, it will be rude and make the Confucian cultivators, Buddhist sect, and demon races experts laugh at you." Damn it! The Grand Mist Ancestor cursed in his heart. Of course, he knew that he had to see Immortal Emperor Go-Chen before entering the Lightning Mountain, but he didn't plan to sit down first. However, before he could get close, the Thunderbolt Immortal blocked his way. The Grand Mist Ancestor took a deep breath and cupped his hands towards the Lightning Taoist. "I see, then this old man is wrong. This old man thanks fellow Taoist Thunderbolt for reminding me." The Grand Mist Ancestor then bowed towards the Scroll Mountain where Immortal Emperor Go-Chen and Dongfeng Qiong were at. Grand Mist Ancestor greets the Immortal Emperor. Although the 5 mountains were quite far apart, the people and demons could see each other clearly under the sky. Immortal Emperor Go-Chen saw the Grand Mist Ancestor's respectful attitude and said with a smile, "Grand Mist Ancestor, we haven't seen each other for a long time." The Grand Mist Ancestor was stunned and puzzled. He asked curiously, "How? Didn't I just see your majesty at the Longevity Town?" Immortal Emperor Go-Chen said meaningfully, "The meeting at that time. Is it considered a meeting?" The Grand Mist Ancestor didn't understand what Immortal Emperor Go-Chen meant. Immortal Emperor Go-Chen didn't dare to explain. He raised his hand and the jade eye that the Grand Mist Ancestor took out appeared in his palm. Immortal Emperor Go-Chen waved his hand disdainfully. The jade eye was carried by a cloud and slowly floated in front of the Grand Mist Ancestor. This emperor doesn't care to take out such an eyesore. Immortal Emperor Go-Chen smiled faintly and raised his hand again. Another 2 jade eyes with 3 colors appeared out of nowhere. 2 clouds streaked across the sky and the jade eyes were delivered to Xueqi and the Grand Mist Ancestor respectively. When the Grand Mist Ancestor received the jade eyes and scanned them with his divine sense, a look of shock appeared on his face. He hurriedly raised his head, but he didn't look at immortal Emperor Go Chen. Instead, he looked directly at Xueqi. At this time, Xueqi also raised his head with a meaningful smile on his face. His gaze collided with the Grand Mist Ancestors in mid-air. It was just like the collision outside the Star Moon Palace in the blink of an eye. Damn it! The Grand Mist Ancestor gritted his teeth. He seemed to have understood something from Xueqi's gaze and cursed inwardly. Black and white lights flashed in the Grand Mist Ancestor's palm and the jade eye instantly turned into nothingness. Not even a speck of dust was left behind. Xueqi chuckled as he carefully placed the jade eye pearl into his bosom, and he retracted his warning gaze from the Grand Mist Ancestor. Your Majesty, what is the meaning of this? The Grand Mist Ancestor raised his head and looked at immortal Emperor Go Chen. This emperor has many meanings. Do you want to hear them one by one? At this point, immortal Emperor Go Chen actually kept the Grand Mist Ancestor in suspense. The Grand Mist Ancestor nodded and replied, "That's right." First, immortal Emperor Go Chen said, "This emperor wants to tell you not to play tricks in front of this emperor. Since you want to tell this emperor what it means to throw a rook to save the king, then this emperor will also tell you what it means to throw a brick to attract jade." The Grand Mist Ancestor was about to vomit blood in his heart. He really regretted his action just now. Second, immortal Emperor Go Chen said slowly, "This emperor wants to tell you that on this hidden immortal mainland, there is nothing that this emperor doesn't know. Don't think that you are doing things secretly and that this emperor knows everything that you do. The reason you can come here is not because this emperor saw your sincerity and let you in. It is because Taoist Xiao of the Fortune Gate repeatedly let you in, saying that you are also a member of the Tao Gate, one of the cultivators of the 3 mainlands. Now that the 3 mainlands are facing the threat of destruction, you should be able to help. Therefore, this emperor let you in. Since you are willing to announce your power to the public, then this emperor might as well help you and pull your relationship with the Fortune Gate closer." "Yes, many thanks, Your Majesty." Your Majesty is still the most considerate. Although the Grand Mist Ancestor was gritting his teeth, he could only swallow them down. Third, immortal Emperor Go Chen continued, "Because before you entered the Lingyun Side Hall, this emperor's immortal palace, the Dragon Clan's Dragon Island, the Demonic Clan's Great Sage Hall, and the Buddhist sect's Thunder Sound Temple had already reached a consensus. Similarly, the Tao Gate will participate in the war against the alien insects as an independent force. Moreover, if we kill the alien insects, the Tao Gate will be able to establish a sect outside the Western Sea." "Really?" the Grand Mist Ancestor asked in disbelief. Happiness seemed to have come too suddenly, and the Grand Mist Ancestor couldn't take it anymore. Immortal Emperor Go Chen said unhappily, "This emperor has a mouth of gold and jade. How can I lie to you? Since your Tao Gate can develop as you wish, there is no need for you to hide your forces. Why don't you just take them out and be as open as the Fortune Gate?" Yes, I understand." The Grand Mist Ancestor nodded repeatedly. However, immortal Emperor Go Chen's words were like a bucket of cold water that extinguished the Grand Mist Ancestor's fire. Immortal Emperor Go Chen continued, "Fourth, Taoist Xiao of the Fortune Gate is the leader of our Tao Gate. Since you want to establish a sect and establish the Sky-Bearing Palace, how can you go against Taoist Xiao? This emperor gave the jade eyes to him to remove the knot in your heart so that you can work together better." Xueqi knew that this was immortal Emperor Go Chen's plan to drive a wedge between them, but he also benefited from it. He didn't say anything and just looked at the Grand Mist Ancestor. Today, the Grand Mist Ancestor was bullied miserably by immortal Emperor Go Chen. The corner of his mouth twitched a few times, and before he could erase the shadow in his heart from the leader of the Tao Gate, he smiled and said, "Yes, Your Majesty's good intentions, I appreciate it. Previously, I didn't know Your Majesty's decree, so I took out the jade eyes. Since Your Majesty has already given the decree, I don't need to hide anything from Taoist Xiao." "That's good." Immortal Emperor Go Chen smiled as if he was harmless to humans and animals. He continued, "Fifth, at this time, not to mention the Grand Mist Ancestor, even Xueqi and the others were stunned. They didn't expect immortal Emperor Go Chen to say so many reasons, So everyone unconsciously pricked up their ears. Fifth, this emperor wants to tell you that not only is there nothing I don't know about in the hidden immortal continent, there is also nothing I can't do. Immortal Emperor Go Chen's tone suddenly turned cold as he said, in the past, this emperor was able to capture you, and today, this emperor will also capture you. Moreover, it's not that this emperor couldn't kill you that day. The reason why this emperor joined forces with the demon race and Buddhist sect to suppress you is not because your cultivation is too high, and we can't kill you, but because immortal. Immortal. Immortal? Immortal Emperor Go Chen's words were like a stick, hitting the Grand Mist Ancestor silly. He looked at Immortal Emperor Go Chen with a puzzled expression and asked curiously. At this time, the Grand Mist Ancestor's imposing manner when he entered the Ling Yun side palace had been dispelled by Immortal Emperor Go Chen as if it was nothing. Yes, immortal. Immortal Emperor Go Chen said coldly, previously, because there was an immortal, this emperor wouldn't easily make a move on you. Now that the immortal has left, if you have any evil intentions, don't blame this emperor for being impolite. Boom. If the previous words were like cold water splashing on the face, Immortal Emperor Go Chen's words were like a thunderbolt. In an instant, the Grand Mist Ancestor fell from the sky into the abyss. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, the Grand Mist Ancestor went through his encounter with Xueqi, and all the various signs pointed to Xueqi. Was the immortal mentioned by Immortal Emperor Go Chen? Why didn't I think of it? The Grand Mist Ancestor muttered in a low voice, and his face was ashen. Since he is an immortal, why can't he help our Dao sect? Why can't he? Can't he? The Grand Mist Ancestor said can't a few times, until finally, he raised his head angrily, looked at Xiaohua, and shouted, Xiaohua, do you know about this? The Grand Mist Ancestor's eyes were filled with anger, but Xiaohua could clearly see the vicious resentment in that anger. Fairy Xingyu had clearly described the Grand Mist Ancestor's character, so how could Xiaohua not know that the Grand Mist Ancestor's anger was just an act? The viciousness behind that anger was his true intention. Why would I tell the truth to a person who has already lost his chance? Xiaohua replied lazily, since this person has already given up on his promise and thinks that he can hold up the sky with one hand, why would others still help him? While speaking, Xiaohua turned to look at Immortal Emperor Go Chen again. Since Fairy Xingyu understood the Grand Mist Ancestor's character, how could Immortal Emperor Go Chen not understand? Immortal Emperor Go Chen had not mentioned the word immortal in front of the Eastern Sea Dragon King and Dongfeng Qianghao, so why did he mention it when the Grand Mist Ancestor appeared? Obviously, Immortal Emperor Go Chen wanted to tell the Grand Mist Ancestor that the immortal was with Xiaohua before he left. It was very likely that the immortal had left many things for Xiaohua, and these things could have originally belonged to the Grand Mist Ancestor. If it was someone else, they might not have been fooled. However, although the Grand Mist Ancestor was already a cultivator of the 9th level of origin energy, his character would not change. He would not judge others by his own standards. He could only be the kind of person who would rather betray the world than let the world betray him. Therefore, if the Grand Mist Ancestor hated Xiaohua very much before, it was probably 100% now. Sure enough, the Grand Mist Ancestor closed his eyes slightly after hearing Xiaohua's words. Then, he took a deep breath and bowed respectfully in one direction. Then, he bowed deeply to Xiaohua and said, "Thank you, fellow Taoist Xiao, for accompanying him on his last journey." You're welcome, you're welcome. Xiaohua waved his sleeves and said indifferently, "This is what I should do." Finally, the Grand Mist Ancestor bowed again to Immortal Emperor Go Chen and said, "I will also write your Majesty's words." Haha, no need to be so polite. Immortal Emperor Go Chen looked at the Grand Mist Ancestor's performance and laughed with satisfaction. You and I are going to form an alliance to fight against the world-destroying strange insect. How can we not be honest? Lightning Sage, may I take a seat? After losing his composure, the Grand Mist Ancestor regained his fierce and ruthless demeanor and asked the Lightning Sage calmly, "What does it have to do with whether you want to sit or not?" The Lightning Sage did not give the Grand Mist Ancestor any face. "Many thanks, fellow Taoists." The Grand Mist Ancestor smiled faintly and landed on the Lightning Mountain peak. Layers of black and white light emerged from his body and intertwined to form a cloud that resembled a praying mat. The Grand Mist Ancestor sat down cross-legged on the praying mat. "Okay. Xueqi looked at the Grand Mist Ancestor's indifference, and a trace of vigilance appeared in his heart. He said, "Now that the other branch of our Dao Gate has arrived at the Lingyun Side Hall, it's time to discuss how to fight against the world-destroying strange insect." Daoist Xiao. The Grand Mist Ancestor smiled and said, "When everyone was discussing, I wasn't around. How will our Dao Gate develop outside the Western Sea? How will we defend against the world-destroying strange insect outside the Western Sea?" Xueqi thought for a moment and summarized the previous discussion. "In the end," he said, "as long as our Dao Gate can block the world-destroying strange insect outside the Western Sea and prevent it from harming the sea tribes and invading the Inner Sea, our Dao Gate will be able to develop freely outside the Western Sea." The Grand Mist Ancestor nodded slightly. Previously, this old man was afraid that the Immortal Palace would use our Dao Gate as a puppet. Now, it seems that they are quite sincere. "Humph, with your sky-bearing palace's little strength, I wouldn't even bother to use it even if you were in front of me." The Immortal Emperor snorted in disdain. The Maitreya Buddha on the Buddha Lotus said, "Namo Maitreya Buddha, since the Great Sage Hall, Dragon Island, Immortal Palace, Fortune Gate, Sky-bearing Palace, Thunder Temple, and my tiny exquisite temple have all come to an agreement, let's discuss the specific areas we will be defending." When the Maitreya Buddha finished speaking, the Dipankara archaic Buddha spat out a Buddha lotus. The Buddha lotus flew into mid-air, and Buddha lights shone on it as it expanded, instantly transforming into a huge image of the Nirvana world. Then, the Dipankara archaic Buddha raised his hand and pointed. Thousands of radiances were born from his finger and landed on the edges of the Nirvana world. The Maitreya Buddha World Honored One did not hesitate. He also raised his hand. Swish! Countless flashes of Buddha dust appeared, and the magnificent scenes of the Buddhist countries appeared from within the flashes of Buddha dust. The flashes of Buddha dust were like dust. They drifted to the edge of a small part of the southern part of Nirvana and landed quietly. After the Buddha dust landed on the ground, the Buddha lights retracted, becoming indifferent. It was even gentler than the Dipankara archaic Buddha's Buddha lights. Sigh! The Dipankara archaic Buddha couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Shock appeared on his face, and he pressed his palms together. "Namo Amitba. 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 Congratulations, junior apprentice brother, for comprehending Buddhism so deeply." Namo Maitreya Buddha. The Maitreya Buddha also chanted and said, "Everyone is a Buddha. Spirits are Buddhas. Objects are Buddhas. Congratulations, World Lord." The Namo Maitreya Samantabhadra's face was filled with joy, and he immediately bowed. The Namo Wisdom Manjushri Bodhisattva hesitated for a moment before bowing and congratulating as well. This disciple congratulates World Lord. Since the two Bodhisattvas had congratulated him, Xueqi also stood up and congratulated the Maitreya Buddha with the identity of the Guan Yin Bodhisattva. Only he knew that the Maitreya Buddha must have obtained something from the Golden Saraira. "Congratulations, congratulations," the Immortal Emperor, the Dragon Island's second elder, and the others naturally added fuel to the fire and congratulated him one after another. In the end, the Immortal Emperor waved his emperor robe again. Whoosh! A majestic chi pillar rushed out and turned into the shape of a scroll, which fell to the east. Boom! The scroll fell, and countless inscriptions on it exploded like ants. Instantly, the outline of the hidden immortal continent appeared in the air. Puff! The Gauchan Immortal Emperor opened his mouth again, and a reddish-gold sword light flew out, piercing into the east of the hidden immortal continent. Rumble! The entire eastern edge of the hidden immortal continent trembled, and a layer of barrier rose from the ground. This barrier was like a city wall, protecting the entire continent. Jie! Seeing that the Immortal Palace and the Thunder Temple had finished setting up their defenses, the golden-winged great pung bird let out a clear cry. As it flapped its wings, numerous rays of moonlight transformed into the shape of stars and rushed out. These numerous stars intertwined with each other in mid-air. When they reached the side of the hidden immortal continent, with a loud boom, the numerous stars collided and shattered at the same time. They transformed into countless rays of starlight that connected together and formed the outline of the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. Ra! The Pentaceratops didn't hesitate. It moved its body and opened its mouth. Pluff! It spewed out a draconic breath that turned into several smaller dragons that flew to the north of the Thousand Demons' sacred realm and surrounded it. The Pentaceratops proudly said, My great sacred temple has sent more than 100 demon monarchs and grand demons to these places to set up defenses. If those strange insects want to break through, they will have to step over the corpses of these demon monarchs. Good. The second elder of Dragon Island, Aoe, clapped his hands and smiled. He also opened his mouth, and a draconic breath landed, turning into a green splash. The splash was like an upside-down waterfall. When it landed high in the sky, it turned into the 4 seas that surrounded the 3 continents. Although the 3 continents were huge, they seemed small in the 4 seas. Everyone. The Dragon King of the East Sea, Ao Qian, wasn't in a hurry to reveal the defenses of the Dragon Palace of the 4 seas. Instead, he glanced at Aoe and said loudly, "The 4 seas are much bigger than the 3 continents. Moreover, the borders of the realms seem to be limitless. Even if the Dragon Palace of the 4 seas exhausted all the Sea Clan and Dragon Clan, we wouldn't be able to protect the borders. Therefore, with the support of Dragon Island, the Dragon Palace of the 4 seas protected these places." As he spoke, Ao Qian raised his dragon claw and pointed at the East Sea, South Sea, and North Sea. Waves of light rippled out from all directions. Indeed, the waves weren't shorter than the ones set up by the Buddhists, demons, and Confucian cultivators. However, compared to the surface of the sea, it was much smaller. I've discussed with the Dragon Palace of the 3 seas. Instead of setting up defenses so far away and stretching the battle line so far, why don't we shrink it a little? Aoe raised his hand and pointed, causing those directions to shrink. Although it seemed to be stretched, the defenses of the various races of the 3 continents on both sides of the line of defense protruded to the front. Aoe said helplessly, however, if we shrink it, everyone's line of defense will be in front of the Dragon Palace of the 3 seas. If strange insects attack us, we'll be attacked from the back. Then, Immortal Emperor Go Chen pondered for a while and answered, "Why don't we retreat all the lines of defense, and let the humans and demons in front of the lines of defense move to the back of the lines of defense?" Ba. It's easy to set up defenses, but it's difficult to retreat. The Dipankara archaic Buddha's face became even more bitter. Let's take a look at the West Sea first. Immortal Emperor Go Chen looked at Xiao Hua and the primordial chaos ancestor and said, "Then, we'll discuss it again." "All right." Xiao Hua nodded and asked Ao Qian, "How's the West Sea Dragon Palace's defenses? How many oceanic races and dragons do they have?" Ao Qian raised his hand and pointed, causing a similar wave to rise. However, this wave was pitifully short. Then, Ao Qian gave a simple explanation of the West Sea Dragon Palace's defenses. Xiao Hua pinched his chin and stared in the direction of the West Sea. He seemed to be deep in thought, as if he was thinking about how to set up the defenses. He also seemed to be looking at another place through the West Sea. The primordial chaos ancestor looked at Xiao Hua and smiled. While Dao Master Xiao is thinking, "I'll throw out a brick to attract jade." With that said, the primordial chaos ancestor raised his hand above the cloud below him. A ray of light turned into a flying sword and shot into the West Sea. Splash. The sound of water splashing could be heard as a small defensive line connected to the West Sea Dragon Palace's side. Looking at the defensive line that was much smaller than the West Sea Dragon Palace's, the primordial chaos ancestor spoke humbly, but there was a hint of pride in his tone as he said, "This old man's sky-bearing palace is lacking in manpower. I'm afraid this is all I can do. And it's already not bad." Immortal Emperor Go Chen nodded and said, "You didn't hide anything this time. This old man doesn't dare to hide anything in the face of a great enemy." The primordial chaos ancestor laughed and said, "Now, it's time to see the Fortune Gate strength." Xiao Hua still didn't make a move. He only frowned as he looked at the water surface. After half the time it takes to brew a cup of tea, Xiao Hua raised his hand and pointed at the sky-bearing palace's side. Shwa! Waves that were several times larger than the sky-bearing palace's size appeared. The primordial chaos ancestor's expression changed slightly when he heard Xiao Hua say, "The Heavenly Paradise River Dragon tribe led by Jiang Hong is proficient in water. They don't have a lot of people, but they can cover a large area. We can let them set up their defenses here." Heavenly Paradise River Dragon tribe? The primordial chaos ancestor's eyes turned rapidly as he looked at the waves in a daze. Then, Xiao Hua pointed at the water surface again. The primordial chaos ancestor secretly let out a sigh of relief, but Xiao Hua said, the dragon tribe led by Ao Zhan is more capable. They can set up their defenses here. Ao Zhan? Ao Zhan? The primordial chaos ancestor obviously didn't know who Ao Zhan was. However, when he saw Ao Qian nodding his head, he knew that Ao Zhan was also an unusual member of the dragon tribe. His expression turned even uglier. As for my Fortune Gate's disciples. Xiaohua raised his hand and waved it. A ray of light shot out like a bolt of lightning and landed on the surface of the sea. A huge wave rose like the rising tide, covering the entire West Sea's edge. Xiaohua said proudly as everyone looked at each other. They can set up their defenses here. The primordial chaos ancestor's face was ashen as the jealousy in his heart grew stronger. He could easily tell that the so-called Fortune Gate's disciples were not nurtured by Xiaohua alone. They must be Su Ji's painstaking efforts. And these disciples that could make the three mainlands' forces tremble in fear should be his. Xiao Longsher. Aoe blurted out, Are you sure? Your Fortune Gate actually has such strength. Xiaohua shrugged and smiled. This Xiao also didn't want to expose our strength, but my Fortune Gate is different from everyone else. We don't have any foundation in the three mainlands, so we can go all out without any backup. These troops are all of my Fortune Gate's disciples. Moreover, if my Fortune Gate doesn't put in effort, how can the West Sea's immortal mountains belong to my Fortune Gate? And that's true. Immortal Emperor Go Chen nodded cautiously. What Xiao Lei said is true. If I didn't worry about the Immortal Palace, I would have sent out my troops to set up the defenses. It would have been the same. Your Majesty is joking. Xiaohua looked at Dongfang Qianghao and then at Immortal Emperor Go Chen. He smiled and said, whether it is the Immortal Palace or the four great families, any one of them would have more disciples than my Fortune Gate. Forget it, let's not talk about this. Ao Qian waved his hand and said, previously, this old man didn't know that the Fortune Gate's disciples were so strong, so I limited the Fortune Gate's disciples to the West Sea. Now, it seems like Xiao Longsher. Can you transfer Jiang Hong's Heavenly Cave River Dragon tribe to the South Sea to assist the South Sea Dragon Palace? Hehe. Xiaohua immediately understood Ao Qian's intention. He was worried that Jiang Hong would take the opportunity to take down the West Sea Dragon Palace. Unfortunately, how could Xiaohua let him succeed? Xiaohua smiled and said, Jiang Hong has been to the South Sea Dragon Palace before, and there is some conflict with the South Sea. If the Heavenly Cave River Dragon tribe were to set up defenses there, it would definitely cause a conflict. Why don't we send the other Fortune Gate's disciples to the South Sea? Xiaohua waved his hand, and a ray of light flew into the South Sea, causing waves to surge. Ao Qian opened his mouth, wanting to transfer Jiang Hong to the North Sea. However, when he thought about Jiang Hong's grudge with the North Sea, he shut his mouth. He wanted to transfer Jiang Hong to the East Sea, but the East Sea was too far away from the West Sea. If he were to ask, it would be too harsh. Set up the defensive lines and withdraw. The Dipankara archaic Buddha looked at them and said. Then, all the Exalt Realm cultivators waved their hands and withdrew their defensive lines. When all the defensive lines formed in a regular circle, they stopped. Yes. The Go Chen Immortal Emperor nodded and said, let's do it this way. Let's hurry up and send a message to our people to retreat. Amitabha. Amitabha. The Dipankara archaic Buddha glanced at the Maitreya Buddha and raised his hand, causing a ray of Buddha light to enter the void. At the same time, the Immortal Emperor and the golden-winged Great Rock sent a message to their disciples waiting outside the Lingyun Side Hall. Then, the Buddhists, Taoists, Confucians, and dragons discussed the details in detail and exchanged a few opinions. Aoe looked at the defensive circle that had taken shape and frowned. Everyone, our races are now working together to resist the strange insects in the outer realm. We must cooperate and help each other. After all, the alien insects might not attack at the same time. We can concentrate our forces to kill the alien insects that appear at a certain location. However, our Four Seas Dragon Palaces have ancient teleportation formations that are connected to each other, while the three continents don't have any teleportation formations. It's fine for us to fly around, but those disciples are a little troublesome. We can only support them from nearby. If they're slightly further away, a huge flaw might appear. Our demon race's Great Sage Hall has a Sage Hall passageway that can be used only. The golden-winged Great Rock pondered and said, however, it's only limited to the 1,000 Demons' sacred realm. This won't affect the battle much. Without a teleportation formation, it's also troublesome to send messages. The Go-Chen Immortal Emperor frowned. Our Immortal Palace's Heavenly Secrets Hall has some tricks up its sleeve. However, it's only limited to the hidden Immortal Continent. If the 3 continents want to send messages or provide support, they can only do so through the 4 Seas Dragon Palace's teleportation formations. Ba. The Dip Ankara Archaic Buddha echoed. Our Thunderclap Temple has the same problem. Although those who attain the Bodhisattva Buddha fruit and above can borrow the Thunder Temple's Buddha light, there are only a few of them. Namo Maitreya. The Maitreya Buddha's world sovereign clasped his palms together and said, our exquisite temple has some guardian heavenly kings who know how to set up a teleportation formation. However, their teleportation formation collapses easily and can only be used temporarily. Moreover, the distance is limited. Although our Confucian cultivator's 10,000-mile sound transmission can't send us far, Dongfang Qianghao suggested, we can send more disciples to connect them. The problem of sending messages should be solved. While everyone and the demon race were discussing, Xiao Hua was discussing with the Thunderbolt Master in his mind. After a while, Xiao Hua had an idea in his mind and said, everyone. Our Fortune Gate's disciples can set up short-distance teleportation formations on the 3 continents for disciples. Moreover, our Fortune Gate also has teleportation formations that connect the hidden Immortal Continent, the Pure Land of Bliss, and the 1,000 Demons' sacred realm. As soon as Xiao Hua's words came out, the entire place fell into a dead silence. Even a drop of water could be heard clearly. What? You don't believe me? The corners of Xiao Hua's mouth curled up into a faint smile. Sigh, of course we believe you. Immortal Emperor Go-Chen sighed and said, I've been waiting for you to say that. Hehe. Xiao Hua laughed and said, so everyone has already thought of that person. That person Xiao Hua was referring to was naturally Xueqi and Fairy Xingyu. Of course. Aoe smiled and said, if it wasn't for the teleportation formation that connected the 3 continents, how could Zhai Xinglu send messages so quickly? Moreover, on this day of the Dao Gate's annihilation, if there's anyone who can set up a teleportation formation, it can only be that person. Xiao Hua was secretly delighted and said with a smile, since everyone already understands, then I don't have to explain. To use the teleportation formation on the 3 continents, it costs 100 top-grade origin stones every time. Our Fortune Gate will help each continent build a teleportation formation, and the materials will be provided by you. Moreover, after it's completed, every time. Master Xiao Hua. Dongfang Qianghao smiled bitterly and said, Master Xiao Hua, have you fallen into a money grubber? The previous order was already too much, and I didn't say anything. Now, we're building a teleportation formation for the sake of all living beings. Does Master Xiao Hua not have any mercy in his heart? Aren't you the Namo Great Compassionate Great Guanyin Bodhisattva? Alright, 1 top-grade origin stone every time. How about it? Xiao Hua replied with a smile. We can't let our Fortune Gate disciples work for free, right? Of course not. This is a matter of merit, and we can't ask for wages. The Dip Ankara Archaic Buddha also smiled. All the exalts present were happy because the construction of the teleportation formation had solved their biggest problem. However, the primordial chaos ancestor who was sitting cross-legged beside Xiao Hua fell silent again. Needless to say, he resented Xueqi for giving these things that originally belonged to him to Xiao Hua. Otherwise, he would be the one enjoying the benefits in the Lingyun side hall right now. After the discussion, Xiao Hua was about to instruct the Thunderbolt Hermit to take the Kunlun Mirror and send the Fortune Gate disciples who were capable of setting up the teleportation formation on the Shunhua continent. However, just as he said that, Immortal Emperor Gaochen smiled and said, Master Xiao Hua, there's no need to rush. The Lingyun side hall isn't within the Immortal Palace's territory. The time is the same as the hidden Immortal Continent. Alright. Xiao Hua thought for a while and knew that the Fortune Gate disciples could prepare the materials needed to set up the teleportation formation on the Shunhua continent. He nodded and took out a few jade eyes and passed them to Immortal Emperor Gaochen, the golden-winged Great Rock, and the Dip Ankara Archaic Buddha. He said, These are the materials needed to set up the teleportation formation. Please prepare the materials according to the distance and location of the teleportation formation. When my Fortune Gate disciples arrive, you can start setting up the formation. Sure. The three exalts took the jade eyes and used their divine abilities to look at them. Then, they passed them to the disciples waiting outside the Lingyun side hall and hurriedly sent them out. At this point, the Taoist Gate's foundation in the three continents was barely established. When a sect wanted to integrate into the entire world, other than strength it would be useful. Only when there was value in using each other would there be meaning in their existence. Although Xueqi was powerful, and the Fortune Gate's army was a force to be reckoned with in the three continents, the Immortal Palace, Thunder Temple, Great Sacred Hall, and Dragon Island all had their own forces. However, building a teleportation formation wasn't something that other sects could do. Only the Fortune Gate could do it. It wasn't hard to imagine that the Taoist Gate could only stay in the West Sea for now. However, after the teleportation formation was completed and the Taoist Gate killed the world-destroying monstrous worm, the three continents would have to rely on the teleportation formation. Whether it was the monster race or the human race, they would all think of the Fortune Gate. Of course, there was also the possibility of the Taoist Gate's Grand Ascension stage experts like Xueqi, so the possibility of that happening was greatly reduced. Seeing how Xueqi and the Fortune Gate were so highly regarded, the Grand Mist Ancestor became even more jealous. However, he still forced a smile on his face and said, "Thank you, Taoist Xiao. With the teleportation formation, our Taoist Gate can establish itself in the three continents." "No, we should thank that senior." Xueqi also smiled and said, although he didn't directly let the Taoist Gate take root in the three continents, he has already put in a lot of effort. This Xiao is merely standing on his shoulder. Yes. The Grand Mist Ancestor nodded in agreement. Everyone. At this time, Immortal Emperor Gaochen raised his voice and said, "Today's discussion ends here. Everyone, take a look and see if there is anything missing. If there isn't, I invite the Empress to hold a banquet at the Jade Lake. We won't rest until we are drunk." Since the discussion had reached this point, there was naturally nothing left out. The venerables shook their heads. Immortal Emperor Gaochen smiled and said, "Everyone, please wait a moment. I invite the Empress to hold a banquet at the Jade Lake." You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.